After being delayed by Zhuang Qian's ambiguous attitude for 3 years, Shang Rui, the Buddhist disciple from Maoqing who had no prior connection with me, suddenly made a high-profile confession and forcefully took me away from Zhuang Qian. Shang Rui gave me everything, but he just refused to marry me and also refused to let me go. During our entanglement, I discovered that Shang Rui was actually the mastermind behind my father's death. And Zhuang Qian was the brother without blood relation that I had never been willing to admit. After I laid out the truth, Shang Rui destroyed Zhuang Qian's reputation and career just to force me to continue relying on him. Zhuang Qian jumped into the sea, and Shang Rui had someone hypnotize me, making me believe that I was the one who caused Zhuang Qian's death. Bearing the guilt, I lost my mind and followed Zhuang Qian in death. After being reborn, I degenerated into the person Shang Rui hates the most, but he still intruded into my life. I squinted my eyes and grabbed his tie. I challenge you to a game of contractual marriage for 3 months. Do you dare? Since I can't avoid it, this time, I'll take what I want by force. 1. I was entangled with Zhuang Qian for 3 years, with a faint ambiguity and careful mutual, until a bright and beautiful girl like a rose appeared by his side. She hooked her arm around Zhuang Qian's and sized me up. With a smile, she teased, "Senior, so this is your ideal type." Zhuang Qian was embarrassed and at a loss. He coughed twice and said, "Lin Li and I are just colleagues." The grievances welled up like a tide, choking my breath. For a full 3 years, in his words, we were just colleagues. The coat he put on my shoulders during overtime. The ease where we took shelter from the rain together when it rained. The warmth of our fingers interlaced during team building. All of these seemed to mean nothing. The rose affectionately grabbed my hand. "Senior is really a blockhead. The way you speak makes her so embarrassed." I stubbornly pursed my lips and smiled, trying my best not to show that I cared too much. In the most miserable year of my life, Shang Rui, who suddenly appeared, gave me a love that was like a home invasion. He directly announced at the welcoming banquet Zhuang Qian held for the rose that I was his girlfriend. In fact, I had only met him once, and we weren't even friends. I was dragged by Shang Rui and stuffed into a luxury car in front of Zhuang Qian. The next second, he tugged off the necklace around my neck. My heart tightened, and I instinctively protected it. "No, he gave it to you, right?" Shang Rui's fingertips brushed over the skin rubbed red by the necklace, and he threw it away without hesitation. When his kiss landed, I even felt a sense of revenge from Zhuang Qian's stinging gaze. Shang Rui cupped my chin, preventing me from looking at Zhuang Qian. "Don't look at him, look at me." At that time, I thought that either Shang Rui was standing up for the injustice or he had lost at the game of truth or dare, but he was extremely serious and really presented everything in front of me. At that time, someone told me that Shang Rui had a crush on me when he was in college, in places I couldn't even notice. He had done so much, the good and the bad, from keeping the seat for me in the library to deliberately ruining Zhuang Qian's external cooperation project and becoming the only partner and source of funds for the company. His appearance was like a sudden storm. I accepted him before I could sort out my thoughts. Everyone praised me for being lucky. The things I couldn't get even after suffering grievances with Zhuang Qian, Shang Rui gave me without reservation. I was happy and content. Shang Rui invited all the colleagues in the company and held a grand birthday banquet for me. Shang Rui dragged me to toast everywhere. His hand tightly around me trembled with excitement, as if he was holding a treasure that he had finally obtained. "Be careful, Shang Rui will stop at nothing. I'm afraid he'll hurt you." Zhuang Qian came to me when I was alone. There was a hint of bitterness in his smile. "I'm not trying to sow discord, nor am I jealous." I looked at him and smiled faintly. "Thank you." My calmness made him even more embarrassed than sarcasm. Zhuang Qian clenched the necklace that had been thrown away in his palm. He hesitated to speak and finally forced a pale smile. He slowly raised his glass. "I wish you happiness." Shang Rui suddenly appeared and put his arm around my waist, pulling me into his arms. As if by accident, he knocked over the wine glass in my hand. Both of us were stained with dark red wine, but I instinctively wiped Shang Rui first. After wiping twice, I realized that Shang Rui did it on purpose. There was no need for an explanation. Zhuang Qian understood everything. Shang Rui never mentioned the future to me, and it seemed that he had no plans to get married. I thought we were still young, and there was no need to rush such things. It would happen naturally, until I heard his brothers teasing him and asking when he would marry me. Shang Rui just responded indifferently, "I'm tired of her. I thought she was the moon that I couldn't reach, but it's just a stone after I got her." There was a burst of laughter. You insisted on picking the moon, but you don't want it now. What about Linley? Shang Rui leaned on the sofa, looking lazy, when I'm completely tired of her. If Shuang Qian still wants her, I'll give her back to him. There was another burst of laughter. You're so bad. Are you doing garbage recycling here? I stood there, and my heart was torn into countless pieces. Linley is so beautiful. Instead of giving her back to Shuang Qian, why don't we set a trap and let our brother take advantage of it? The fertilizer doesn't flow to outsiders. There was a crisp sound of a glass bottle breaking, and the person inside held his head and held. Shang Rui's voice was calm without a trace of emotion. I'll pay for your medical expenses. Don't have any ideas about Linley in the future. 2. When I confronted Shang Rui, I thought he would act out a bitter scene of regret as usual, but he was surprisingly calm and silently helped me pack my luggage. I felt uncomfortable, but I suppressed my emotions. We're all adults, and everyone has to take responsibility for their choices. I chose Shang Rui. At least he was nice to me before. We should part ways amicably, and I can't blame anyone. Before leaving, I asked Shang Rui if he had anything to say to me. Shang Rui ruffled his hair and sneered, full of evil charm. If you find out that the last words I said to you are my last words, will you remember it for a lifetime? I couldn't stop trembling. Shang Rui was full of possessiveness. He could give me up immediately when he was tired of me, but I can't leave him. He offered to take me to Shuang Qian. Shuang Qian and the Rose were kissing in the office. The design draft I left behind was crumpled during their tussle. Shang Rui glanced at me, with a playful smile on his lips. There was contempt and mockery in his eyes, as if he was enjoying the feeling of controlling everything. Let's go home. He reached out to drag my suitcase, but I instinctively avoided him. There was a commotion inside. Shuang Qian pushed the Rose away and clumsily picked up the scattered design drafts on the floor while wiping the lipstick off his lips. Shuang Qian, what do you mean? The girl was so proactive, and you? You actually pushed me away. The Rose lost her previous calmness and was furious. Do you still like Linley? Shuang Qian's hand trembled. It has nothing to do with Linley. He unconsciously clenched his palm and rubbed the scar on his hand. Yes, if Linley knew that her brother without blood relation had a crush on her for so many years and even caused her to lose her home, she would hate you to the bone. The Rose sneered and lifted his chin with her knee. You love her. But you don't dare to admit it. Shuang Qian's Adam's apple rolled, and his hand holding the design draft trembled slightly. The Rose leaned in again and kissed his lips forcefully. You can treat me as a substitute for Linley. I don't care. My pupils shook like an earthquake, and then I turned my head to avoid the sight. Shang Rui reached out again to drag my suitcase, and this time I didn't resist. Linley, let's go home. A kiss landed on my forehead. With his usual dominance and absolute possessiveness, I suddenly looked up into his eyes and caught a trace of cunning that he didn't have time to hide. Shang Rui, did you already know about this and deliberately brought me here to see it? Then you should thank me for helping you get out of this messy relationship that can't see the light. Shang Rui put his arm around my waist, with his chin resting on my shoulder. His voice was particularly low and ambiguous in my ear. As long as the result is good, it doesn't matter what means are used. 3. I didn't know I had a brother until I was 6 years old. Since he showed up at the door with a shabby suitcase, my originally harmonious family was filled with quarrels. Someone told me that my mother couldn't conceive a baby, so she adopted my brother from the orphanage. My brother was just getting used to life at home. Before the formal adoption procedures were completed, my mother got pregnant with me. So she changed her mind and didn't want my brother anymore. My father had no choice but to send my brother back to the orphanage, but he had been sponsoring him all these years, until he came back with a suitcase again. My father wanted to keep him, but my mother insisted on driving him away. My brother and I were eating outside while my parents were arguing in the inner room with the door closed. I shrank my neck in fear, and tears rolled into my rice bowl. My brother was like a heartless eating machine, shoveling food into his mouth, indifferent to everything happening at home. The result of the quarrel was that my mother dragged me back to her parents' home. A month later, my father finally came to pick us up, but my brother silently followed behind him, like an annoying shadow. Sure enough, my parents had another fierce quarrel. I covered my ears and crouched in the corner crying. My brother handed me a lollipop. With a clumsy smile full of flattery on his face. Don't cry, Ali, have some candy. I reached out to take it and threw it far away. I hate you. You always make mom and dad quarrel. This isn't your home. Can you just leave? My brother silently rubbed the corner of his clothes, and his figure seemed to shrink. Later, my parents finally decided to send my brother to live in the school dormitory. I could only see him once a month. As I grew up, I became more and more curious. Since the adoption wasn't successful, why was my father so concerned about him? I rummaged through the bookcase at home and found the adoption certificate. I opened it with a smile, but I couldn't smile anymore. The adoption certificate didn't have my brother's name on it, but mine. The whole story was completely reversed. My father had been divorced, and my brother was his child with his ex-wife. My father and mother formed a new family, but she couldn't get pregnant. So they adopted me from the orphanage. So my brother was half an outsider in this family, and I was the real outsider. After learning the truth, I became rebellious and refused to go home. Even though I knew my brother was innocent, I still couldn't accept his existence. My father finally decided to send my brother back to his ex-wife. Although he knew that his ex-wife had remarried and my brother would be tortured by them after going back. Before leaving, my brother red-eyed and held my hand, asking me if I could let him stay. I shook my head and naively comforted him that my father would send living expenses to his biological mother every month. With the money, she definitely wouldn't abuse my brother anymore. On the way to the long-distance bus station to send my brother off, my father had a car accident. When my mother heard the news, she had a heart attack and passed away. At the funeral, my brother limped while holding my father's urn, stubbornly refusing to shed tears. I looked at him with hatred in my eyes. I thought he must hate me too. We were too young. He was taken away by his biological mother, and I lived with my aunt. Before we separated, my brother said word by word as if swearing, "Ali, in the future, your brother will come to find you. I will take care of you and never let you cry again." I shook my head vigorously. I don't want to see you again. I don't want to see you for the rest of my life. The memories of the past were messy and fragmented. The blurry shadow of my brother gradually overlapped with Xuan Qian. I slept in a daze for a day and a night. When I woke up in a trance, I saw Shang Rui tidying his collar and preparing to go out. When he saw that I was awake, he replied calmly, "I'm going to gather with my brothers. You can rest by yourself tonight. Don't wait for me." My temples were throbbing, and it hurt badly. I ruffled my hair and sat up. Mechanically, I sat down and combed my hair. "I won't wait for you. I'm going out too." Shang Rui thought I was being angry with him. Without asking any extra questions, he just coldly said, "As you wish." I heard the bedroom door slam shut. The next second, Shang Rui came back. He casually threw his coat on the bed and forcefully tore open the front of his shirt with his right hand. "Are you going to find Xuan Qian again?" Two buttons popped open and rolled under the bed cheerfully. Disappearing from sight, he grabbed my wrist and dragged me in front of him. His eyes were full of paranoia and unwillingness. "Linley, are you being cheap? Xuan Qian is so spineless, he doesn't even have the courage to tell you the truth. What's so worthy of your nostalgia about such a man?" I turned my head away and avoided his gaze. "It has nothing to do with romantic feelings. I just want to make things clear with him." Shang Rui pinched my chin, forcing me to look him in the eye. His voice was cold. "You can tell me anything you want to say to him. Can you stop being crazy? To me, he's just a symbol whose appearance and name I can't remember. We have no blood relation and no feelings, no matter what his feelings for me are. I shut him out when he needed his family the most. Now I just want to make up for it. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. What you want to give is not what he wants." Shang Rui's fingers gently stroked my wrist. "Have you ever thought that he doesn't want a family at all? He just wants you." His voice coiled around my ear like a sticky and alluring spider web, cold and eerie, making me feel uncomfortable for no reason. "Shang Rui, that's enough, enough." I struggled so hard that Shang Rui let go in a hurry. Maybe I had always been so gentle and tolerant in front of him. The sudden toughness made him feel at a loss. I trembled with anger and spoke incoherently. "You tried to destroy everything around me and left me with no way out. Why do you hate me so much?" Shang Rui's eyes burned with a wildfire, and a tide of anger surged within him. For a moment, I felt that his hatred was about to pour down on me like a tempest. I watched as he pulled out his tie and took a few steps back until the coldness of the wall seeped through my clothes. "Don't come any closer," my fear reflected in his eyes. Torn into a chaotic and out-of-control despair, Shang Rui raised his hand, but he wrapped the tie around his own hand. The hoarse voice that escaped him was like the mournful cry of a trapped beast. "Ali, don't be afraid of me. Don't push me away. Look, I will never hurt you. I shook my head instinctively, still filled with fear. He had gone to great lengths to get close to me, occupied my life without warning. And now that he was tired of me, he still wanted to keep me trapped. I couldn't understand what he really wanted. I won't believe you anymore, Ali. Do you really want to see me die in front of you? I couldn't move my hands, but Shang Rui slammed into the cabinet, the vase shattered on the ground, in pieces. Without thinking, he leaned sideways and fell. I instinctively reached out to pull him, but the disparity in strength meant I couldn't move him. The broken glass pierced his back, and blood flowed. Doctor, what's Dr. Liang's number? My mind was in a mess. And I was completely panicked. Call for emergency. It's quicker to call for emergency. Shang Rui reached out and grabbed me, pulling me tightly into his arms. My weight pressed on him, adding to his injuries. I've caught you. I saw his face contorted with pain, cold sweat sliding down his Adam's apple and into his collar. The next second, he laughed hysterically. Ali, stay by my side, don't go anywhere. He was a madman, since he couldn't trap me with his feelings. He trapped me with himself. 5. The private doctor rushed over to treat his wound. His clothes were stuck to the blood, and they had to be cut open to clean the wound. Shang Rui gasped in pain and held my hand tightly throughout, not willing to let go even a bit. Dr. Liang carefully instructed me on how to take care of the wound and change the dressing. Finally, he reminded me to pay attention to Shang Rui's mental state and not let him hurt himself again. I knew that Shang Rui had many old scars on his body. When he went swimming, he always wore a one-piece shark suit. Dr. Liang said that he had experienced an accident when he was a child and had PTSD. He had been addicted to self-harm for a long time. He had been treated for a long time, and his condition fluctuated, but after I was with him, he had never hurt himself again, according to Dr. Liang. I might have formed some kind of psychological compensation for him and stopped his self-harm behavior. When I decided to leave, he hurt himself again. This was the reason why, even though he was tired of me, he still wouldn't let me go. I stayed by Shang Rui's side and didn't sleep all night, looking at his troubled face even in his sleep. For a moment, I seemed to reconcile with him. Whether I love him or not isn't that important. I'm willing to stay by his side as his medicine. At worst, I can think of it as doing good deeds. I had a lot to say to Shang Rui, but just as the sky was turning bright, a message came to his phone. I saw the avatar that was jumping on his WeChat. It was the bright and passionate Rose that I was all too familiar with. You were right. I took out the design drawings of the foreign designer and questioned Linley for plagiarizing someone else's design. Xuan Qian panicked completely. Usually, he's so sensible, but this time he was like a fool, letting me manipulate him, trying every means to protect Linley's reputation. Xuan Qian revealed the project's base price to me. There's no way to avoid his downfall and loss of reputation. I really don't understand. Why did you go to such lengths to ask me to bring down the company you invested in? Just like I don't understand why Xuan Qian would sacrifice so much for Linley. After a series of emotions from the Rose, Shang Rui simply replied, you don't understand human nature. Rose, you have no humanity. The last message she sent was, it went too far. Xuan Qian jumped off that unfinished building by the sea. 6. When I saw Xuan Qian again, he had already become a cold body in a black bag. I didn't even have time to say a word to him before losing my family again. Shang Rui stumbled and supported the door frame. Blood seeped through the shirt on his lower back. He tried to trap me with himself again. Ali, don't be like this. It hurts so much. I need you. I stared at Shang Rui and shouted hysterically, Xuan Qian is dead, and his reputation is gone. He's completely ruined. It was useless. My emotions had already collapsed, and I couldn't take care of myself. I didn't hate him enough to die with Shang Rui. That was my last bit of reason. I held Xuan Qian's urn and planned to send it back to our hometown. Shang Rui held me back and asked me to promise to come back to him after handling Xuan Qian's affairs. There was a bitter smile on my lips, and I was physically and mentally exhausted. Shang Rui, I don't want to play this game with you anymore. You're another brother that I don't want to admit, right? Those past events came to my mind when Dr. Liang told me about Shang Rui's PTSD. That car accident took away my father, and then I lost my mother. The other party in the car accident was also a father and son. The son threw a tantrum and grabbed the steering wheel, which ultimately led to this tragedy. On the day of the funeral, his father pushed him several times. He finally summoned the courage to come to me and said that he could be my brother and cover my compensation and living expenses until I was an adult. I slapped him in the face. I don't want the money, and I don't want a brother. I want my alive parents. The reason why I could relieve Shang Rui's self-harm behavior was that I was the root of all this. Fate is so mysterious. What it gave me was completely different from what I wanted. Ali, I'm just afraid that you'll leave me. I want to monopolize your feelings. I went to see Zhuang Qian. As long as he took the initiative to stay away from you, I was willing to give him any compensation. If he accepted, all these tragedies wouldn't have happened. Shang Rui didn't deny it but just begged humbly. Zhuang Qian's matter was an accident. I didn't expect him to be so extreme. There were clearly countless ways for him to make a comeback, but I don't know why A broken voice escaped from my throat. I know, Shang Rui was a madman, and so was Zhuang Qian. He knew that his methods were far from as sophisticated as Shang Rui's. He sacrificed his life so that I would never forgive Shang Rui. When I left this city, I thought it was all over. Not long after Zhuang Qian was buried, Shang Rui knocked on my door late at night, holding me tightly in his arms with rain all over him. I'm sorry, Ali, I can't live without you. He absurdly hypnotized me. Even more absurdly, I didn't forget Zhuang Qian's death but firmly believed that I was the one who caused it. I started to lose my mind, and my behavior became extreme. Shang Rui asked someone to treat me many times, but there was no improvement. Shang Rui hugged me with regret countless times and begged me not to hurt myself anymore. He took the hand that was holding the glass shards and scratched it towards his own neck. Ali, let yourself go. It's not your fault. Take it out on me. Please don't torture yourself anymore. I looked at him and giggled, constantly calling Zhuang Qian's name in his face, because I was just pretending. The doctor couldn't cure someone who was faking illness. I don't want to live this life anymore. And neither does he. Since I can't escape, I'll punish him with the rest of my life. Until one day, the aunt who took care of me flipped through the photo album and pointed at the little boy in the picture, laughing. Why do you have a photo of young Master Rui when he was a child? I've really never seen him looking so malnourished, like a skinny monkey. The whole world collapsed. That day, I ran out barefoot and made the same choice at the place where Zhuang Qian ended his life. But the moment everything in front of me sank into the abyss, the whole world lit up again. The Rose hooked her arm around Zhuang Qian's and sized me up, smiling and teasing. Senior, so this is your ideal type. Zhuang Qian was embarrassed and at a loss. He coughed twice. Linley and I are just colleagues. I was reborn before I reunited with Shang Rui. 7. I looked at Zhuang Qian, and tears welled up in my eyes before I could say a word. The Rose deliberately teased. You're trying so hard to distance yourself. She's feeling wronged. I raised my arm and rushed into Zhuang Qian's arms, hugging him tightly. Zhuang Qian was at a loss, his fingertips curled up and resting on the top of my head. When he lowered his eyes, his Adam's apple rolled rapidly, and his ears turned a faint red. What's going on, Linley? What's wrong with you? His embrace was still warm, not the cold body in the black bag that could no longer respond to me. I reached out and grabbed the hem of his shirt, pulling it hard. Zhuang Qian hurriedly held on to his clothes, his face blushing like it was on fire. Linley, what are you doing? I asked him in a hoarse voice. Do you have a lot of old scars on your back, from the car accident? A trace of unbearable pain flashed in Zhuang Qian's eyes, and he seemed to be falling apart. His reaction confirmed everything. I had preconceived the identities of the two of them. Zhuang Qian had always called me Linley, but Shang Rui had been calling me Ali before I knew it. So Zhuang Qian was the little boy who caused the car accident, and Shang Rui was the brother who begged me to let him stay. Zhuang Qian, this is your last chance to be honest. I'm about to be taken away by someone else, and you won't have another chance to explain. Zhuang Qian hesitated to speak and finally avoided my gaze. Do you have some misunderstanding about me? Take a few days off and sort out your emotions. I was stunned for a few seconds and couldn't help but laugh bitterly. In a rebirth novel, if one fails to treat the left foot in the previous life, they will treat the right foot in this life. But I didn't expect that the tragedies of the previous life were related to everyone's character, and some things were like destiny. Even if it happened again, nothing would change. I didn't idle during those days of rest. I became a different person. Deviant and living a carefree life, Zhuang Qian couldn't hold back and came to find me. He still had that serious look and threatened that if I didn't go back, I would lose all my salary. I don't want to work here anymore. Just fire me. I hugged my male companion's neck and laughed. I'm busy, that's it. Zhuang Qian hesitated and asked, Linley, are you demeaning yourself because of me? I was silent for a few seconds. He was part of the reason, but not all of it. I want to change not only my own ending but also the intertwined tragedies of the three of us. Sure enough, it's because of me. Zhuang Qian seemed to have made a great determination. Then come back now, let's be together. Is that all you want to say? My eyebrows furrowed involuntarily and then quickly relaxed. The corner of my mouth carried a faint mockery. Zhuang Qian, do you think you're particularly great? You sacrificed yourself to save me from eternal damnation. There was only endless silence in response to me. Zhuang Qian didn't dare to admit his identity to me and face his past mistakes. There was an insurmountable gap between us. He couldn't come over, and I couldn't go back. It's over between us. No, it never even started. I smiled and hung up the phone. That's it, goodbye. Never see each other again. I stayed away from Zhuang Qian and became the person Shang Rui hated the most. Until I was drunk and Shang Rui picked me up and stuffed me into his luxury car angrily. Why are you giving up on yourself like this? Can't you live without Zhuang Qian? I guessed right. This time, I still couldn't get close to Zhuang Qian, and naturally, I couldn't escape Shang Rui's control. He pulled my necklace, and I didn't stop him at all. The moment the necklace was thrown out of the window, I met Zhuang Qian's lonely and broken gaze through the gap in the car window. Yes. I can't live without him. I'm so lonely. I just want to get married to someone, anyone. I squinted my eyes and grabbed his tie. Let's play a game of contractual marriage for 3 months. Do you dare? You're putting on this act for him, aren't you? Fine, I'll play along. Shang Rui's breathing was ragged, and his laughter carried the madness that had been suppressed to the extreme. Don't look at him, look at me. I took the initiative to kiss his lips. Then let's see if you have the ability to replace him and capture my heart. Since I can't avoid it, this time, I'll take what I want by force. 8. This time, I took the lead in our relationship. But Shang Rui was unexpectedly restrained. That sense of distance confused me. Was it because it was too easy for him, and he lost the challenge and freshness too soon? Where is she? The girl I brought back last night. Where is she? I carried the breakfast upstairs and happened to hear Shang Rui's hysterical questioning. Before I could get an answer, there was the sound of a glassware falling and breaking. I knocked on the door frame. Are you looking for me? Shang Rui was stunned for a few seconds. The slippers under his feet made him stumble a few steps. Finally, he kicked the shoes away and stepped barefoot on the scattered clothes on the floor. He hugged me in his arms, shaking like a tree in a storm. Shang Rui didn't say anything, so I took the initiative to speak. I made breakfast. I don't know if it suits your taste. If you like it, eat it. If not, ask the aunt to make something else. My tone confused him. He had been silently paying attention to me from behind for years and knew that I had a gentle and forbearing temper. Suddenly changing my temperament would make him feel at a loss. I decided to take the initiative to clear the air. Are you curious about why I was willing to go with you yesterday? Shang Rui looked at a slipper lying alone at the end of the bed, and his tone was self-deprecating as he replied, you wanted to make Zhuang Qian angry. I don't think you're a bad person. I shook my head. I need to go back to the company later. The transportation around here is not convenient. Can you give me a ride? Never having received special favor, Shang Rui didn't have a sense of deserving deep down. He was worried about losing things and being abandoned by the world. In the past, I was used to obeying and pleasing him. Besides passively accepting, I had no other demands. Such compromise only exacerbated his pain and unease. This time, I want to take the initiative to tell him that I need him. A trace of emotion flashed in Shang Rui's eyes, but he immediately built up a defense and retreated to his safe haven. My gaze shifted to the hand he was trying to hide. Shang Rui immediately realized what I was looking at and pretended to be calm as he waved his hand. It's okay. I accidentally got cut by a piece of glass. I didn't expose him, even though I knew he was venting his emotions and had grabbed the piece of glass without hesitation. He was used to using the pain of self-harm to make up for the lack of emotions. I just didn't notice it last time. After being reborn, I really thought about taking revenge on Shang Rui. So I went to inquire about his past in advance. His stepfather didn't like this burden at all and would beat and scold him at every turn, until one day, his stepfather got into a conflict with someone and died accidentally. His biological mother took the compensation and soon remarried. The person she married this time didn't have a child, so he treated Shang Rui as his own son and doted on him. Shang Rui also changed his name, rising from the mud to the sky. His name, appearance, and temperament all changed. No wonder I couldn't recognize him. I didn't realize when he reappeared by my side and did all the decent and indecent things, after being in the rain for so many years. Now that he had an umbrella, he just wanted to hold up a roof to shield me from the wind and rain. At that moment, I gave up on revenge. Shang Rui wasn't bad, he just didn't know how to love others. When applying medicine to Shang Rui, his eyes were fixed on me, as if he couldn't feel the pain at all. I didn't look up and focused all my attention on his messy wound. My parents passed away early, and I lived with my aunt. My aunt was weak-tempered, and my uncle was an alcoholic and a gambler. It was like starting in hell. I wanted them to get a divorce. I cried and made a scene. I even thought about going with my parents. Shang Rui suddenly tightened his grip on my hand. I haven't finished applying the medicine. Stretch out your hand. I pried his hand apart and looked calm, as if telling a story that had nothing to do with me. Later, I realized that there were some things I couldn't interfere with. I had to let myself go. When you're living under someone else's roof, you can't have a temper. For things I can change, I just need to think from a different angle and let them go. After laying out so much, I just wanted to find an opportunity to tell him that I was regretful. Shang Rui suddenly reached out and brushed aside my forehead hair. When his fingertips stopped, his pupils dilated slightly, as if tracing my outline. The warmth of his fingertips seemed to cross the years and come to me. It was late, but it was still comforting. But Shang Rui suddenly curved his lips, and my shrunken reflection was reflected in his dark pupils. The person who made you suffer so much is really damn. I swallowed the words that followed awkwardly. Redemption wasn't that easy. He reached out and stroked my hair, his eyebrows furrowed in pain. But he was addicted to this pain and didn't plan to stop. For him, the happiness obtained through pain was real. I gently pushed his hand away. Your hand is seriously injured, you'd better not drive. I can just find a ride-hailing car. Shang Rui suddenly leaned closer. What? Are you afraid Xuan Qian will see? I've been too kind to him, and he just won't listen. I've resigned and I'm going to get my design drafts back. I stood up with a cold face. You can follow if you really want to. But I might look ugly when I quarrel. I'm afraid you'll lose your good impression of me. Shang Rui was stunned for a few seconds, and then he lowered his head and couldn't stop laughing. I knew what he was laughing at. He had been scolded by me, and he had also seen me scold Xuan Qian. I turned to leave, but Shang Rui suddenly called out to me. Does the 3-month contractual marriage still count? Yes. 9. When I returned to the company, Xuan Qian didn't lose his temper. Instead, he coldly urged me to go back to work. I cleared my throat and was about to announce my resignation. Everyone, stop for a moment. I have something to announce. Xuan Qian suddenly interrupted me. I'm in a relationship with Linley, but it won't affect our work relationship. Everything will remain the same in the future. I was both angry and amused. What was this? Charity, you might have misunderstood. My wife is a very devoted person. Shang Rui swaggered in and put his arm around my waist. If you had any wrong ideas, it's because she's a nice person. Shang Rui was the company's only partner and source of funds, in short, the benefactor, and everyone knew him. Everyone looked at each other, and the way they looked at me was somewhat meaningful. Whether I was cheating or Xuan Qian had tried to make me flirt with Shang Rui but it had backfired, I was the one who looked the least decent in this situation. There was an awkward silence. It was Xuan Qian who spoke first. Even in a relationship, you can't call her that casually, it's impolite. I almost rolled my eyes. Was that the point? Shang Rui looked at me, and the corner of his mouth curved into a triumphant arc. We're married, and it's only natural to call her wife. Even if he was just talking nonsense, I didn't bother to refute. I turned and went back to the office. Shang Rui was stunned for a few seconds, and then he suddenly reached out to stop me. You've already resigned. I've resigned, but I still want to get my design drafts back. Shang Rui's smile was a bit unnatural. I'll support you in the future. Those rejected drafts can be thrown away. I shook off his hand and kicked the door open. The Rose sitting inside was flustered. On the computer desktop were her design drafts overlapping with mine and those of a foreign designer, and there were traces that she couldn't delete and modify in time. I raised my voice. What do you mean? I haven't even left, and you're blatantly copying my design. The Rose waved her hands and denied it. No, I didn't copy your design. I just wanted to check. I immediately interrupted her, caught in the act. Do you still want to deny it? I knew she was trying to change the details of my design to make it exactly the same and then accuse me of plagiarism. Most of the time, the one who strikes first takes the moral high ground, but I knew that Shang Rui had instructed her to do this. Not only would Xuan Qian try to minimize the matter for her reputation, but Shang Rui would also protect her. I strode up and picked up the cold coffee on the table that had been there for who knows how many nights and poured it on her. The laptop was soaked, it crackled for a while, and a blue flame burst out. The documents and paper design drafts on the table that hadn't been cleaned up were all affected. The Rose was stunned. She patted the coffee stains on her body, and there were sobs in her throat. What are you doing? I'll compensate for the broken computer, but my design belongs to me alone. No one else can steal it. I won't give her a chance to fight back. The computer is broken, and the paper drafts are gone. I can't insist that she plagiarized, and she can't prove her innocence either, since there is no evidence left. It's the same for both of us. I turned and left. The Rose was unwilling to suffer in silence and sneered, whether it's reasonable or not needs to be judged by everyone. You destroyed the evidence first. Maybe there's something wrong with this draft, and you're feeling guilty. Speak with evidence. I glanced at Xuan Qian and raised my eyebrows slightly. I caught you tampering with my draft. You suspect me but only by words. If you can't produce evidence, it's slander. So many colleagues can testify that you deliberately spread rumors and damaged my reputation. Xuan Qian stood in front of the Rose, his voice extremely serious. Linley, stop making a scene. There's no need to involve our personal matters in our work. Don't target Xiaomei like this. I looked at his eyes and suddenly felt strange. For a moment, I really wanted to slap him hard and tell him that everything I did wasn't out of spite but to save him. Grievance filled my chest, and my eyes turned red before I could say a word. If I left without clearing things up today, he would still think that I was being jealous and unreasonable. Since there would be misunderstandings anyway, I might as well confirm them. Yes, I'm targeting her. After all these years of entanglement, I'm tired and have seen through it. It's just right to settle the score completely, and we won't owe each other anything in the future. I looked into his eyes and caught a few imperceptible tremors of emotion. After taking this last look, I remembered his appearance at this moment. Xuan Qian, farewell. 10. I felt a sense of relief in my heart. As long as I had no more connection with Xuan Qian, Shang Rui wouldn't have to deal with him. After destroying the design draft, the Rose no longer had the bargaining chip to threaten Xuan Qian. Xuan Qian wouldn't be ruined and wouldn't die either. Shang Rui kept a dark face and didn't say a word. I pulled his hand and called him several times but got no response. Finally, I got angry. The 3-month contractual marriage you promised. Don't go back on your word. A joyful expression flashed across his face, and then he frowned tightly, unconsciously clenching his fist so that his nails dug into his flesh. Happiness scared him. When he was with his first stepfather, whether he asked for tuition or his grades were not good, even when his stepfather was in a bad mood, he would be beaten. Only after his stepfather's emotions calmed down would he realize that his actions were excessive and mostly tried to appease him. Subconsciously, he always felt that only by making himself feel pain could he have happiness with a clear conscience. My fingers went around his back, and my fingertips slowly touched those old scars, crisscrossing. Even though they had already healed, they were still deeply engraved in his heart. 3 months was the limit for healing. Sticking together inseparably, straightforwardly telling him all my needs and feelings, giving him a sufficient sense of belonging and security, I could feel that everything was getting better. When are you going to marry Linley? Marry that skinny girl? It's just for fun, for fun. Does Shang Rui look like he's just playing around? When I heard his brothers teasing again, I almost pushed the door open and scolded them. Suddenly, someone interrupted. Be careful, Xiaomei is here. Through the glass, I saw the Rose sitting opposite Shang Rui, crossing her arms, looking like she was here to accuse him. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Marry whoever you want. Don't think too much. It won't happen. Shang Rui poured the wine down his throat and only left a sentence. I'm tired of her. I thought she was the moon that I couldn't reach, but it's just a stone after I got her. My pupils suddenly shrank, and my lips trembled slightly. I bit my lip and swallowed the exclamation back. So these words were said to the Rose. There was a burst of laughter in the private room. You insisted on picking the moon, but you don't want it now. What about Linley? Shang Rui leaned on the sofa, looking lazy. When I'm completely tired of her, if Xuan Qian still wants her, I'll give her back to him. There was another burst of laughter. You're so bad. Are you doing garbage recycling here? The Rose stood up and slapped him hard. You liar. You said you wanted to take revenge on Xuan Qian, but you didn't say that Linley is the woman you've been thinking about. I always thought that they were just in a cooperative relationship. And that's why Shang Rui calmly sent the rose to Xuan Qian's side. It turned out that I wasn't the only one who was stupid. There was a dead silence in the private room. You've been sweet-talking and acting in front of me every day, aren't you tired? The rose's voice trembled. What do you take me for? A part of your game with Linley? The rose suddenly opened the door, and I didn't have time to dodge. Shang Rui looked at me in shock, his eyelashes trembling, looking flustered and at a loss. 11. I didn't say a word on the way home and silently packed my luggage when I got home. Shang Rui took a half step forward but froze. His fingertips hovered 3 inches above my shoulder and trembled. Are you going to find Xuan Qian? I stroked my hair, and my tone was surprisingly calm. I don't want to pursue the relationship between you and the rose, but I have to settle the score with Xuan Qian. How do you want to settle it? What are you going to settle? Shang Rui pulled me into his arms, and there was still paranoia and unwillingness in his eyes. Have you ever thought that he doesn't want a family at all? He just wants you. I faced the wildfire and the tide of anger in his eyes again, but my state of mind was completely different. You tried to destroy everything around me and leave me with no way out. I know you're afraid of losing me. My tone was calm, but it doesn't matter. You don't have to do anything, and you won't lose me. Shang Rui's fingers gently stroked my wrist. Ali, you went this far to protect Xuan Qian. This person just won't listen. A storm gathered in his eyes, and the next second, he really reached for his tie. Anger rushed to my head, and my heart heated up. I snatched his tie and tied his hands first. Ali, don't leave me. Don't go to him, please. Shang Rui was like a trapped beast, and a hoarse voice escaped from his throat. He's not good. He's not the brother you want. He doesn't deserve you. How long are you going to act? Is it only by taking Xuan Qian's identity that you dare to express your love openly? I forcefully opened the drawer and took out a lollipop. There was no need to say more. We both understood. Shang Rui trembled all over. Ali, don't be afraid of me. Don't push me away. His emotions completely collapsed, and nothing I said could soothe him. He leaned over and planted a kiss. If everything could be repeated, I would never drive you away again, this time. I won't let him use himself as a prison to trap me. The morning light made my eyes ache. When I opened my eyes, I realized that I was in such a hurry yesterday that I didn't even have time to draw the curtains. As soon as I got out of bed, Shang Rui groped the bed sheet with his fingertips, then he turned over and sat up like a panicked little beast. I stood barefoot on the ground and subconsciously turned around to soothe him. I'm here. Shang Rui propped himself up and pulled me back into his arms. Xiaomei is my junior schoolmate. I did use her. It's my fault. Xuan Qian killed my father. Why should he feel at ease and not be punished? I wanted to take away the most important person to him. I just didn't know that person was you. I didn't answer. The fact that he took the initiative to face me and our past was already the greatest reconciliation. Silence was enough. There was a noise outside, and the aunt knocked on the door. Young Master Rui, something big has happened. Come out and take a look. 12. But he was extremely serious and really presented everything in front of me. This time, the rose didn't get what she wanted from Shang Rui and decisively betrayed him, siding with Xuan Qian. Since the rose could help Shang Rui harm Xuan Qian, she could naturally help Xuan Qian harm Shang Rui. I went to the detention center to visit Shang Rui. He looked as if the sky was about to fall. Babbling that I should go straight for my future and not waste time waiting for him, I agreed, and he looked wronged as if he couldn't go on living. Why shouldn't I wait for you? When the 3-month contractual marriage expires, you can become my official partner. Shang Rui was stunned for a few seconds and then laughed with his head lowered. He put his hand on the glass. Even through the cold glass, I could feel the warmth in his palm. When I came out of the detention center, Xuan Qian immediately came up with an umbrella. It's raining. Why didn't you use an umbrella? I turned to look at him. The shoulders of his suit were stained with deep and shallow watermarks, but the hand holding the umbrella stubbornly leaned over my head. I took a step closer to him. Xuan Qian subconsciously dodged. Then he reacted and immediately curved his lips, opening his arms and waiting for me to throw myself into his arms. But I just leaned in front of him and asked softly. You were reborn too, right? I don't know what you're talking about. The smile froze on Xuan Qian's face, and his action of avoiding my gaze became more deliberate. I shook my head and said with certainty, you know, after being reborn, he never missed any of the turning points in the development of my relationship with Shang Rui. He deliberately kept a distance from me, exposed his weaknesses, and tried to win over and protect the rose. He planned carefully. looking for opportunities to sow discord between the Rose and Shang Rui, and finally used me to completely turn the Rose against Shang Rui. I don't like doing those underhanded things, but I'm willing to do them for you. Xuan Qian finally stopped pretending. He stroked my hair and gently tucked it behind my ear. Without him meddling, we can finally be together with peace of mind. The past is in the past. But it doesn't mean I've forgiven you. I didn't choose you before. And I still won't choose you this time. I pushed away his umbrella and walked alone into the distance. The rain wet my hair and clothes, and the damp and refreshing air made me especially sober and happy. The fates of the three of us have changed, and that's better than anything else. Xuan Qian called my name from a distance. Linley, I'll withdraw some of the evidence. With insufficient evidence of guilt, Shang Rui will be released soon. I waved my hand as a thank you and didn't look back. Xuan Qian is the scenery along the way, and Shang Rui is my destination. I see everyone else as ordinary plants, but only you are like a green mountain. Story 2. After my stepsister caused my death, the schizophrenic genius scientist abandoned his life's research and avenged me in a frenzied act of self-destruction. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn at the moment I first witnessed his breakdown. Talking to himself, he appeared wildly disturbed, this time. Instead of running away in fear, I cautiously approached and grasped his scar-covered arm. What are you researching? Can you tell me? I asked. He paused for a moment, researching, Joyce, my name, at the moment when I was completely engulfed by the waves. What I saw was Jojo's smug expression. Goodbye, my dear sister, only with your death can the family wealth and Leon be mine. It was only at that moment that I realized Jojo, who always appeared innocent and frail, harbored deep schemes and ruthless ambitions, perhaps driven by intense hatred. My soul lingered after death, floating in midair, and followed Jojo home. I watched as she tearfully announced my death to our ill father, who was literally infuriated to death. Jojo. With Joyce's family gone, she and her mother naturally inherited all the family assets, enjoying great splendor. On the day Jojo married Leon in my place, the ceremony was grand and spectacular. She wore my wedding dress, smiling like a victor. Leon and I had a business marriage without any real emotion. It didn't matter to him whom he married, as long as it benefited the family. I thought it was just that, but when I saw the tender affection in Leon's eyes, I suddenly realized that he and Jojo must have been involved much earlier. A boundless hatred overwhelmed me, nearly tearing me apart. I was filled with hate and regret. At that moment, a Bugatti charged onto the lawn at lightning speed, creating a piercing crash. The guests at the scene instantly panicked and scattered. The Bugatti didn't stop, it continued circling the venue, wreaking havoc on Jojo's meticulously arranged setting. Finally, it braked sharply in front of Jojo and Leon. The door opened, and out stepped a man, his presence dark and crazed. It was Jason, the globally renowned genius scientist. The last time I saw him in the news was 2 years ago. He had secluded himself to work on a project. This project is my life's pursuit. Without completing it, my life would be meaningless. After that, he vanished from the public eye. I never imagined Jason would appear at the wedding, and even less so to avenge me. Jason, holding a sharp knife, charged at Jojo without hesitation, his eyes filled with hatred and despair. Jojo tried to escape, but he caught her, and just within 2 seconds, the sharp knife slashed her throat. In what seemed like an act of vengeance, Jason repeatedly stabbed her, each stab accompanied by a tear. You killed her. I couldn't even bear to look, yet you killed her. You go accompany her in death. Go to hell and atone for your sins. Jojo was beyond dead. Jason turned, his gaze falling on Leon, who was preparing to flee. You can't escape either. He charged like a cheetah, blinded by rage. Someone must have called the police. As the sound of sirens began to wail, the sky was overcast, and raindrops pounded down. Blood was smeared everywhere, surrounding the desperate and suffocating Jason. It was as if all his strength had been drained. He fell to his knees and wept. My research, the pursuit of my entire life, gone. Joyce, I'm coming to join you. From the bottom of my heart, I cried out. Jason, when I opened my eyes again, I was back to being 18 years old. There were no weddings, no bloodshed, just a tightly closed door. My heart trembled as I stared in disbelief at the door. There was a cute little bear doorbell on it. It was a gift from me to Jason, a gesture to win him over. Jason had transferred to my school in his 2nd year of high school and was my desk mate. He was quiet and reserved, often daydreaming during class, yet his grades were far superior to ours. Curious and envious, I tried to get closer to him, hoping he could tutor me, Today, the class monitor had organized a gathering and sent me to call Jason. In my previous life, when I came to call him, I happened to witness one of his episodes. He was talking to himself, his expression frenzied. I was scared and fled. Only later did I learn that Jason had schizophrenia. That's why he transferred here. After that escape, I never saw Jason again. He transferred to another class the next day. Deliberately avoiding me, I took a moment to compose my heavy heart, raised my hand, and pressed the doorbell. Jason opened the door and seemed surprised to see me. Joyce, the clear, young man stood before me, his body carrying a pleasant scent of gardenia. At the sight of him, my nose tingled, and my voice was slightly choked. Are you coming to the class gathering today? He frowned slightly. Come in first. After entering, I noticed the surveillance at the entryway. Further inside, the living room had cameras too. These were things I hadn't noticed in my previous life. Jason poured me a glass of water. Seeing the redness around my eyes, there was a hint of worry and sympathy in his gaze. Have you been bullied? I took the water, smiling and shaking my head. No, just had a little argument with my dad. Jason was silent for a moment. Are you going? I am. Jason then looked up and slightly curved his lips. Good. Let me change my clothes, okay? I sat on the living room sofa, watching Jason enter the bedroom, my heart unconsciously racing. He had had his episode in the bedroom. I had read up a bit on schizophrenia, visual and auditory hallucinations. Jason had them both. When I heard Jason's raised voice from the bedroom, despite being mentally prepared, my hand holding the glass still trembled. Taking a deep breath, I stood up and cautiously approached his bedroom. Pushing open the door, I saw Jason's expression changing rapidly, now angry, now distressed. This approach to the research is completely unworkable. It's bound to fail. This angle is too tricky and time-consuming with little payoff, and I don't have that much time. There were clothes laid out on the bed that he was planning to change into. He had already taken off his coat, revealing his arms. They were covered in scars. It was shocking to see. The argument grew more intense. I clenched my fists, my palms sweaty. It wasn't until Jason calmed down and sat on the bed with a thump, frustratingly clutching his hair, that he exclaimed, "What should I do with this research?" After saying that, he fell silent for a long while. That's when I carefully approached him, holding my breath as I drew near. Jason, he didn't respond, just kept his head down, deep in thought. I noticed the crisscrossed scars on his arms and felt a tightness in my chest. Gently, I reached out and took his wrist, asking again, "Can you tell me what you're working on?" I remembered Jason had joined a research project at university and had made quite a name for himself. Jason stiffened for a moment, then mechanically looked up. His gaze was distant and wooden. He stared at me as if trying to recognize me. After a long while, a hint of joy sparked in his eyes, and he gripped my hand back. "I'm researching, Joyce," he said. A jolt went through my heart. Joyce. Was he researching me, triggered by something? Jason began to talk nonstop. "Who are you? You look like her. I like her. Can you give me some advice? I want to confess my feelings to her, but I'm scared. I'm sick. I should wait, but I can't. I really like her. Please help me." I snapped back from my shock. Tears had welled up in my eyes. "You should tell her directly. She won't reject you." No one knew that I had once had feelings for Jason. Who could resist a good-looking, smart guy during their teenage years? But later, due to fear, hesitation, and the erosion of time, those youthful heartbeats were buried and forgotten. Jason's eyes brightened at my words. "Okay." After the excitement, he seemed a bit tired. I helped him lie down, and he held on to my hand, refusing to let go. "Stay with me. I don't want to be alone." I sat by the bed and nodded. "Okay, I'll stay with you." Jason finally closed his eyes and gradually fell asleep. I looked around his room, noticing there were no sharp objects anywhere, and the door wasn't even locked, making it easy for me to enter. Yet, there were so many scars on his arms, and in such a large house, he was all alone. Jason, a wave of sorrow spread from my heart to every part of my body. The class leader sent me a message asking about my progress. Jason won't be coming. Something just came up at home for me, so I won't make it either. Have fun without us. Alright then. The sun outside was scorching, its rays piercing through the window onto Jason's face, causing him to furrow his brow in discomfort. I carefully pried his hand open and went over to draw the curtains shut. His expression softened. I had intended to wait for Jason to wake up, but my phone rang again. This time, it was a message from my dad. He had already warned me earlier that he would be bringing Jojo and her mother, Mona, back home, and now he was asking if I was at home. I glanced at Jason, still lying on the bed. I'm here. In my last life, Mona married into our family right after I graduated. My dad, fearing disharmony, had allowed them to live with us for a year. During that time, Jojo and her mother played their parts perfectly, completely deceiving both me and my father. This time, I was determined not to let them through my door. After leaving Jason's house, my bodyguard drove me back. As we arrived at the villa, I saw Jojo and Mona looking around in surprise, their eyes filled with excitement and greed. My dad, naively, was showing them around the house. With a stern face, I ordered the bodyguard, "Hit them." The bodyguard, shocked, responded, "Miss, hit them." At that moment, my mind was filled with the bloody tragedies of my previous life. I was so full of hatred. My dad, not very cunning, devoted all his energy to his company, yet Mona used him as a stepping stone for social climbing. I treated Jojo like a sister, always protecting her, but she envied and hated me, and eventually pushed me into the sea. Those ungrateful wretches, they deserved death. Although puzzled, the bodyguard obeyed. He stepped on the gas, and the car sped towards Jojo and her mother. My dad turned pale with shock. Joyce, with a loud crash. Jojo and Mona were struck and thrown onto the ground. I immediately got out of the car, tears streaming down my face. Dad, the brakes failed. I was so scared. I rushed into my dad's arms, clinging to him tightly. While comforting me, he sent someone to check on Jojo and her mother. In his heart, I was the most important. In my last life, he had made a will leaving everything to me and instructed me to take good care of Jojo and her mother. It was also for this reason that they harbored murderous intentions towards me. The emergency services soon arrived and took them away. My dad comforted me until I calmed down, and then he rushed to the hospital. I sat in the living room while the bodyguard stood in front of me, uneasy. "Miss, if the gentleman checks the car, it's fine, you won't be dismissed." My dad wasn't foolish. Right now, I just really didn't want to see Jojo and her mother. "You may go." The bodyguard respectfully left. I went upstairs to my room to wait for my dad to come back. I glanced at the time, unsure if Jason had woken up. His house had surveillance. If he was awake, he'd surely check it. In my last life, he probably saw me fleeing on the cameras and since then kept his distance from me, avoiding me. I sent him a voice message. Something came up at home, so I had to leave. "Are you awake?" On the other end of the phone, Jason sat desolately on the floor, the computer in front of him replaying the surveillance footage of the entire house. An hour ago, she had arrived. She had seen everything. Beside him lay a sharply honed triangular ruler which he uncontrollably dragged across his arm, repeatedly slicing into his flesh, blood streaming down. Why did it have to be when she came? She must be terrified. Jason choked out between sobs. At that moment, his phone lit up with a new message, a voice message. Trembling, he played it. A girl's clear voice came through. "I had to go back home because of some issues. Are you awake?" It took a while before I received Jason's response. Just a single, cold word. "Yeah." I was puzzled. Why was he colder than usual? He must have seen the surveillance footage. He should know I wasn't scared. Wasn't he planning to confess his feelings to me? I decided to call him directly. "Jason," I said when he answered, his voice sounding muffled. Yeah, words were on the tip of my tongue. But suddenly, I felt shy. I couldn't just ask outright why he hadn't confessed his feelings, could I? Do you have time tomorrow? Let's go to the haunted house in West City. I heard it's really thrilling," I emphasized. "Just the two of us." Jason was silent. I waited patiently for his reply. There was a rustling sound on the other end, then suddenly, something seemed to drop. Following that, Jason's raspy voice came through. "Okay." He paused, his tone apologetic. "Can we go in the afternoon? I can't get up in the morning." "Sure," I replied. After chatting a bit more, I hung up, but I didn't feel happy about his agreement. Instead, I had a bad feeling. Jason's biological clock was always precise. He never had trouble waking up or slept in, unless something was wrong, but he wasn't saying, and it wasn't right for me to press too hard. I turned on my tablet and started searching for more information on mental illnesses. Schizophrenia had several triggers: external stimuli, psychological trauma, substance abuse, and genetic factors. I could rule out the last two. To my knowledge, neither of Jason's parents had mental illnesses, and his mother had passed away when he was 10. That left the first two. Could his father be the cause? I recalled his empty, surveillance-filled home. Jason lived there day and night, every move watched. It must have been suffocating. A heaviness settled in my chest. Looking at our chat, I took a deep breath. Jason. This time, it's my turn to save you. It was evening by the time my dad returned from the hospital. The bodyguard had messaged me earlier to inform me that my dad had confirmed the brakes were fine and pleaded for my help. Just after I replied, "Don't worry," there was a knock at my door. "Joyce, are you asleep?" I got up to open the door. "Dad," my dad entered with a stern face. "Sit down." He didn't ask me. He waited for me to confess voluntarily. Standing in front of him, I spoke in a low voice. "I don't like them." My father, suppressing his anger, demanded, "Reason." I took a deep breath. "Dad, I had a dream. In the dream, you married Mona, and Jojo became my sister. We lived together for 10 years. I respected Mona as a mother and cherished Jojo as my own sister. However, Mona drugged you, causing you to fall gravely ill. After I took over the company, Jojo and my intended spouse conspired together, eventually leaving me to die at sea. They inherited the family fortune and lived gloriously. The hatred that had been festering inside me began to grow wildly. My hands tightened by my sides, nails digging into the flesh, yet it was nothing compared to the pain in my heart. My father's gaze was heavy as he stared at me, all because of a dream. My voice choked up. "Mom passed away early. And it was you who raised me from a young age. You know best what kind of person I am, Dad. If it weren't for experiencing it firsthand, if I didn't hate to the core, would I let the bodyguard run someone over? I've never been impulsive. It must be something I inherited from you, Dad." Unbeknownst to me, my father gripped the arms of his chair, his eyes fixed on my face. The air quieted down. We looked at each other calmly, but there was turmoil in both our eyes. No matter how much I tried to suppress it, strands of hatred still leaked from my eyes. My father's eyes gradually reddened. The usually composed man suddenly cursed. Finally, he closed his eyes and took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. In an instant, my nose tingled, and tears fell. "Dad." My father opened his arms and gently embraced me, patting my back soothingly. His voice trembled. "My Joyce has suffered. It's all my fault. I misjudged people." His voice grew firm. "Don't worry. I will never let those things happen again." My heart trembled, and I couldn't hold back my tears any longer. The next day when I woke up, my father was not at home. He had said last night that he would take care of everything and that I shouldn't worry. Now, Mona and Jojo posed no threat at all. I wasn't worried. No matter how cunning, no brain can withstand the forces of power and money. My only worry was Jason. We had agreed to meet today, but he was late, just as I was about to call him. Jason got out of a taxi and hurried towards me. "Sorry, there was a sudden issue, got held up for a bit." "Did you wait long?" Seeing the sweat on his forehead, I frowned. It wasn't hot today. The short run shouldn't have made him sweat. I handed him a tissue. "I just got here too. Wipe off your sweat first." Jason took the tissue, wiped away the sweat, and smiled warmly. "Where do you want to go?" I smiled back, grabbed his wrist, and led him forward. "Come with me." I didn't notice that Jason's body stiffened. There were many fun activities in the West City, and taking advantage of the midday, I dragged Jason to the haunted house first. To be honest, I'm the type who is both timid and adventurous. Throughout the experience, I screamed nonstop and clung tightly to Jason. He, on the other hand, wasn't scared at all and even comforted me in a gentle voice whenever I got frightened. As we reached the final section of the haunted house, the surroundings were eerily quiet and pitch dark. All I could hear was our breathing. I gripped Jason's arm tightly, my eyes wide open as I scanned the surroundings. Even though I couldn't see anything, Jason patted my hand, saying, "It's okay, I'm here." I was still scared and started to make small talk. Out of nowhere, I blurted out, "Aren't you going to confess your feelings to me?" Jason froze suddenly. I was also taken aback. Damn my big mouth, why wasn't I shy now? But since the words were already out, I boldly continued, "Jason, the truth is I like you." But before I could finish, he covered my mouth. "Shoo, there's something ahead." My attention immediately shifted. I stared intently straight ahead. In the darkness, I couldn't see Jason's expression, nor could I tell that his face was pale and his expression panicked. Even the hand covering my mouth was trembling slightly. "Don't move, Joyce. The ghost is coming." My body instantly stiffened. Just then, Jason let go of me and even stepped back slightly. "What are you doing? Don't go." I held onto his hand tightly. I'm not going, he said, but I wasn't reassured and dared not move. The room remained silent. There were rustling noises behind us, like something cracking or the sound of a plastic bag being rubbed. Jason, Jason, I called out his name in fear. He responded softly, A few seconds later, he moved forward. It's okay now, the ghost is gone. I paused, slow to realize. Were you tricking me? He chuckled softly. You caught me. I was both angry and annoyed. Jason, yes, I'm here. You've learned to be naughty. He wasn't like this before, but Jason just pointed out, the exit is over there. I remained somewhat annoyed until we got out, but when I turned around and saw Jason's smiling eyes, all my anger vanished. However, his complexion looked terrible. My heart tightened. Jason. He interrupted me. What else do you want to play? I forced a smile. The haunted house was really scary. Let's rest for a bit. He nodded. Okay. We found a relatively quiet restaurant and ordered some drinks. When Jason got up to go to the restroom, as he turned around, I caught a glimpse of a silver corner sticking out of his jacket pocket. It was brief, but I recognized it. A strip of pills. My hand tightened under the table. I knew that schizophrenia required constant medication. Today, should I have called him out? Before long, Jason came back, his expression as usual. He stayed with me and played until the afternoon, thoroughly enjoying himself and almost always accommodating my requests. However, when I suggested we play the latest popular murder mystery game, he declined. Joyce, I'm a bit tired, he said. He didn't look tired, but I could see a hint of reluctance in his eyes. I immediately changed the topic. I didn't realize how late it had gotten. Let's head home then. He nodded in agreement. As we left the western part of the city, the sky was a vast expanse of fiery red sunset. It's so beautiful. I took out my phone and snapped several photos of the sunset, with the fiery sunset in front of me, the gentle Jason by my side, and the cool evening breeze around. A sudden thought struck me. I turned the camera towards Jason. Smile, I said. Before he could react, I captured his photo and then switched to video mode. Jason, do you like me? Jason, who had wanted to stop me, froze. He stared at me blankly. I like you, Jason, I smiled. In the camera, Jason's expression visibly shifted to panic and nervousness. I peeked from behind the camera to look into his eyes and spoke again. I've liked you since you patiently helped me with my homework. Why do you still come to school every day even though you've already been admitted on recommendation? I asked. Jason's pupils trembled as he looked deeply into my eyes. We held each other's gaze amidst the noisy backdrop of traffic and voices, which seemed not to affect us at all. It took a long while for Jason to respond, as if he had just processed the situation. Joyce, he began, his eyes suddenly lighting up with surprise. But a sudden ringtone from his phone interrupted him. His expression darkened instantly. I sensed something was wrong. Jason took out his phone, hung up the call, and his expression settled into calmness. He took my phone and stopped the recording, as if putting an end to something between us. What does this mean? I asked. Jason looked down at me, his tone bitter. You saw everything yesterday. Aren't you afraid of me? I'm sick. I'm a madman. I'm not afraid, I interrupted, my resolve seemingly taking him aback as his eyes momentarily filled with tears, but quickly, he deflated, speaking in a downcast and listless tone. Don't say things like that, Joyce. He sighed heavily, as if all his strength had left him. I'm scared. I instantly understood. He was afraid this was just a whim of mine, afraid I would abandon him, afraid to have something only to lose it again. I stepped forward, wanting to embrace him, to show him my commitment wasn't fleeting. But Jason stepped back. Joyce, let's just be classmates. I won't cross the line, and you, don't push me. He spoke quickly. I'm sorry. I won't walk you home then. Take care on your way, he said. He turned around and fled in panic. Jason, I didn't understand. Why? He liked me. He wanted to confess his feelings to me. So why is he backing away now? Jason ran a great distance before he finally slowed down. His phone in his pocket kept ringing incessantly, always the same number. He didn't want to answer it at all, but eventually, he did. Hello. On the other end, the voice of a man was calm and stern. Why aren't you answering your phone? Why did you turn off your location services and unplug the surveillance? 3 consecutive whys made Jason feel suffocated. This morning, when he had gone to the hospital to get his medication, he had already answered a call. The caller on the other side angrily questioned why he was still harming himself, asking if he was in love with Joyce. Does your little desk mate know you have a mental illness? Does she know you harm yourself every day? That you need to take medication every day. Do you think her kind words mean she's interested in you? She's just pitying you, trying to comfort you. I hope you don't end up like your mother, treating love as your only pursuit, utterly lacking in ambition." The morning's words still echoed in his ears. The voice from the phone continued relentlessly. "You've grown bold over the months, not just talking back but daring to defy me outright. It's just a few words from me, and you dare to unplug the surveillance and turn off the location services. What, you want to die out there? I'm putting so much effort into this for whom? Humph, if it weren't for your mother's despicable and ruthless tactics, do you think I'd bother to care about you, a lunatic? Do you think Joyce would like a lunatic? Don't delude yourself. Someone like you isn't worthy of her." Jason suddenly let out a low, unsettling laugh, prompting passers-by to instinctively steer clear of him. He said, "Yes, I'm a lunatic. I'll turn the surveillance back on now, and then, let you see a corpse. How about that? Or maybe I'll turn on the location services, and you can guess where you'll find me, in the river, at the station, or in the morgue." Jason's words grew increasingly manic. "What to do? I really want to die, Father." He deliberately emphasized the word father. The person on the phone fell silent. Jason laughed louder and louder. "Father, shall I go and die now? Would you prefer I get hit by a car or jump into the river?" "You, Jason." Jason quieted down, listening to the intense breathing on the other end of the phone. He chuckled. "If you don't want me dead, then never let me hear those 3 words from your mouth again." Her name. Merely uttering it, he felt was a desecration. A beep-beep sound came from the phone. The other side had hung up. Jason looked up at the evening sky. Joyce, God knows. When he heard the words "I like you," his whole body was boiling with excitement. But, oh well, I'm going to hurt you, Joyce, I'm sorry." Jason fell to the ground, covering his face as he sobbed. He longed for her yet couldn't bear to hurt her. He was greedy yet dared not make a move. Living is so difficult. Ever since I confessed my feelings, Jason stopped coming to school. Being in the 3rd year of high school, I was too busy to visit him. I could only wait for the weekend to check on him at his house, but to my surprise, Jason had moved away. Even the teddy bear doorbell was gone. Looking at the bare black door, I felt a heavy sadness. When I got home, my dad noticed my troubled expression and asked, "What's wrong? Is school too much for you?" I shook my head and remained silent. During dinner, my dad talked about Mona and Jojo's situation. He had conducted a thorough background check and found out Mona had been fishing for a wealthy husband, and many had taken the bait. At this point, he paused. I glanced at him. Among those deceived, he was the easiest target. Embarrassed, my dad changed the subject to Jojo. Jojo had inherited her mother's tactics and personality, using her looks to attract wealthy heirs at school, also dreaming of marrying into a wealthy family for a soaring social climb. Not all the men Mona entangled with were single. My dad discreetly leaked some information to the wives, being careful to hide his own identity. After all, it was quite embarrassing. A grown man. I suddenly looked up. "Dad, can you help me look into Hugh's family?" "Hugh's family, your classmate, Jason?" I nodded, immediately on alert. My dad asked, "Why are you looking into his family? Do you like him?" I openly nodded. "Yes, but after I confessed, he hasn't been back to school." My dad's expression darkened. "No, I don't approve." Hugh's family's issues were well known. There's hardly anyone who doesn't know. I was already against you being desk mates with him, but I didn't want to interfere. I quickly interrupted him. "What happened with Hugh's family?" After glaring at me for a while, he began to explain. Hugh's family was not originally from the capital but from Jeong City. Originally, the 2 families arranged a marriage, and Jason was born. Susan had loved Hugh since she was young and was devoted to him. However, Hugh did not love her back, and when she found out about his affairs, she became hysterical. She would often take her anger out on Jason. Later, when Susan heard that Hugh had fathered a child with another woman, she completely lost her sanity. After having the mistress and the illegitimate child killed, she personally mutilated Hugh. Then, she locked herself and Jason at home, planning to die together with him. At that time, Jason was 10 years old. He didn't understand much but instinctively wanted to live. He hid and then witnessed Susan's death. The incident was well known at the time. For a whole month, it has been trending on social media. Even the joint efforts of 2 companies couldn't dampen the enthusiasm. Later, both parties fought over the custody of Jason. Hugh, unable to have more children, desperately fought for Jason to inherit the family business. Since he was the biological father, Jason was ultimately awarded to him. To compensate Jason, Susan's family agreed that after he inherited from Hugh's family, he would receive 1/3 of Susan's family's assets. Unexpectedly, due to years of mental stress and the trauma of witnessing his mother's death, Jason developed schizophrenia. At the same time, he displayed an extraordinary talent. My dad sighed. Jason is also a poor child. Back then, everyone said he was the biggest winner, but he was actually the biggest victim. Over the years, as he grew up, his condition became increasingly uncontrollable. He used to study in Jiangqing, but he transferred here after his condition caused him to inadvertently hurt someone. The day you told me you had a new desk mate, I was worried. That's why I had a bodyguard protect you closely. Joyce, you must not fall for him. I was stunned. Silent for a long time. No wonder Jason refused when I suggested playing a murder mystery game, because there was a part where you witness your mother's death. No wonder he declined, saying he was scared. Not scared that I would reject him, but scared that he might hurt me. My dad slammed the table. Joyce, I'm talking to you. I looked up. Dad, I'm afraid, I can't do that, right now, immediately. I desperately want to see him, but I don't know where he is. Jason has always been good at avoiding me. In a past life, he kept an eye on me without my noticing. This time is no different. Even after the college entrance exams, the people I sent couldn't find out where he was. I even went to the university he was supposed to attend, but still couldn't find him. Why is he avoiding me? I asked, frustrated. My best friend handed me a glass of wine. It's simple. Because you like him, my friend explained. Before, when you didn't like him, he could warn himself not to act rashly. Not to do anything that might make you dislike him, but now that you like him, and you're making direct moves, he can hardly resist. He can't help himself, but he doesn't want to hurt you, and with his condition, he can only hide. It's a mix of insecurity, sensitivity, and avoidant attachment. My friend sighed. He's got a lot of issues. If you want to be with him, it's going to be exhausting. You'd have to deal not only with his potential schizophrenia outbreaks. Watch out for him losing control and hurting you, but also repeatedly reassure him of your love, comforting him, and giving him a sense of security. If you can't handle it and want to back out midway, he might die. Think it over carefully. Actually, him hiding might be for the best. I stared at the drink in front of me, my thoughts in turmoil. What are you researching? Can you tell me? Researching, Joyce. He's always been studying me, but I am not a test subject, not just data. I am a living person. Wasn't that essentially a distress signal he was sending me? I like him, I want to rescue him. This thought grew stronger and stronger. Reflecting on my past life, I was busy with my studies, busy managing the company, meeting countless people, and making numerous acquaintances. I admired their talents and was dazzled by their appearances, yet, none stirred that trembling in my heart. What seemed like a casual brushstroke in my youth has, over time, become increasingly bold and vivid. Finally, through my relentless efforts, at the beginning of freshman year, I found Jason at his school. He had become even thinner, his whole being shrouded in melancholy, not as bright as before, though he was never really that bright to begin with. The moment he saw me, Jason froze. It wasn't until I approached and called his name that he snapped back to reality. He murmured, "It's not an illusion." He looked at me intently. "Your school isn't here." What was it I said again? He had been watching me all along. I didn't blindly apply to the university Jason was attending. After all, the major wasn't a fit. But you are here. I had deliberately delayed my registration to catch him here. Jason's eyes flickered, somewhat at a loss. "Joyce, I told you not to." I tiptoed and kissed him on the corner of his mouth. He froze completely, as if his soul had been drained. I grabbed his hand. "I like you, Jason. If once isn't enough, I'll say it a second time. A third time. I know what you're afraid of. Will you hurt me?" Jason shook his head vigorously. Then he said, I can't control it." His body began to tremble, wanting to flee. I held him. "Then, when you can't control it, avoid me, okay? And when you can, come back out." Jason blinked very slowly. "Can we do that?" "Don't know until we try." Jason pursed his lips, and under my expectant gaze, he nodded. I took half a month off. During that half month, I was with Jason. We stayed at his apartment. He was extremely proper, never overstepping boundaries. To me, he was more like a roommate than a boyfriend. Once, when I tried to kiss him while pretending to be drunk, he pushed me away as soon as I touched the corner of his mouth, awkward and shy. "Joyce, don't. I might lose control when I'm emotionally unstable. If you kiss me, I'll be very happy, and then I won't be able to control myself. All I could do was hug him, rubbing my head against his chest. But I really want to kiss you. Next time, try not to be so happy, okay? Jason nodded, his lips already curling into a smile. I took the opportunity to touch his abs. Does this make you happy too? Yes, it does. Looking at his flushed face, I thought it was hilarious. Sometimes, though, the fun goes too far. Jason would lock himself away, staying silent no matter how much I talked. All I could do was wait outside his door, keeping him company. When he finally came out and saw me, he would apologize, feeling guilty. I'd take the chance to give him a kiss, a touch. Over time, he grew accustomed to my touch, but gradually, I realized something. Jason doesn't express his needs, he just indulges me, going along with whatever I want. This, actually, is not good at all. Just like now, as I was packing and telling him that I needed to go back to check in, he was clearly reluctant but just nodded and agreed. I went downstairs and sat for half an hour. When I went back up, I saw Jason in a fit of rage. Having thrown everything around the room, she's gone, she doesn't love me anymore, she's so far away from me, I miss her so much, I want her so much, it's because I'm not good enough. She doesn't like me anymore. At the moment Jason raised a knife to harm himself, my heart tightened, but I didn't rush in to stop him. He had warned me several times before, during his episodes of self-harm, not to intervene. He couldn't distinguish me in those moments and might hurt me. If he realized he had hurt me after regaining his senses, he would feel even more guilty and despairing, and would hide even more. I watched helplessly as Jason hurt himself, feeling as though the wounds were also on me. It was incredibly painful. After what felt like an eternity, Jason stopped. He gradually regained his composure. That's when I entered. The moment he saw me, his first reaction was panic, fear. Joyce. He hurriedly hid his arms behind his back, unable to face me. I stepped up to him, steeled myself, and slapped him. Jason's head turned to the side, his body began to tremble. He couldn't stop apologizing. I'm sorry, Joyce. I didn't mean to. Don't be scared, I won't hurt you. He didn't look at me, just let tears fall to the ground. I grabbed his collar, forcing him to look at me. Jason, what is the purpose of having a mouth? Can't you say if you miss me, need me, love me? Say it, say you miss me, need me, love me. Jason looked at me with tear-filled eyes and repeated my words. I miss you, need you, love me, I need you, I miss you, Joyce. He repeated over and over. I bowed my head and kissed him. It was a kiss mixed with tears, salty. I sniffed. I know, so, I'll stay for 2 more days, I said. Jason's eyes lit up. He repeated, Joyce, I need you, I really need you, I can't bear to be without you. I hugged him tightly. I understand. From now on, you have to tell me everything, your thoughts, your needs. That's the only way I can understand. Do you get it? Jason tightened his arms around me, as if he wished to meld me into his very bones. I understand. I'm sorry. Jason choked up. I know, I reassured him. The truth is, he doesn't really know how to love someone. That's why he's cold to others. But with me, he's compliant. No one ever taught him how to love. No one ever asked him about his feelings or cared. People knew he was unwell and would just avoid him. I tried to act normal, but in reality, I just hide away. He confessed. Hearing this, my heart ached for him. You don't have to. I love you. Just follow my lead. Love me the way I love you. And love others in the same way. After spending another 2 days with Jason, it really was time for me to go back. After clinging to each other for half the day, he reluctantly drove me to the airport. Joyce, can I move to be with you? He asked. I shook my head. Jason, this is the second lesson I want to teach you. Don't give up your own future and dreams for someone else. Don't lose yourself, even if that person is me. I like seeing you shining brightly from great heights. Not just compromising and accommodating for me. Jason disagreed. But I only want you. I smiled. Then for my sake, aim for those heights. We should meet at the summit, not cling to each other. Jason looked at me for a long time, then slowly nodded. I will, Joyce. I knew he would. In a past life, even without me, he had reached the pinnacle. But this time, I hoped he would stand there longer, go further. Though we were apart, we'd meet whenever we had the chance. Jason continued taking his medication, seeing his doctor, and with my guidance, his condition had greatly improved. His episodes were becoming less frequent. At the same time, he was developing more skills, like, Joyce, I want you to kiss me. Joyce, I want you to touch me, Joyce. His requests grew bolder with each plea. Soon, following the trajectory of his past life, Jason made a name for himself. He was called a genius scientist. It was then that his father, Hugh, came to visit. Asking him to come back and take over the family business, Jason happily agreed. It took him half a year, but, returning to Hugh's family, Hugh was ousted and deprived of his inheritance. Then, he was kicked out without hesitation. At the same time, Susan's family fulfilled their promise by giving him 1/3 of their assets. Suddenly, Jason became the talk of the town, with his name echoing through the streets as media outlets clamored to cover his story. Yet, the first thing Jason did was, Joyce, if I present all these as a betrothal gift, would your dad agree to let us be together? I went to the hospital for a checkup today, and the doctor said I'm cured. This isn't hereditary, so there's no worry of passing it on to the kids. Or we can choose not to have kids if you prefer. I was busy dealing with company matters and found Jason's chatter distracting, so I pushed his head aside. Let's talk after I'm done. Jason's expression instantly fell. All right. He stayed quiet for no more than 2 minutes. Joyce, I need you. I never knew it would turn out like this. Helplessly, I turned my head and kissed him on the corner of his mouth. Wait over there for me. After I finished my documents, I looked up to see Jason. What? Are you crazy? This is the office. I saw Jason on the sofa opposite, wearing the outfit I had bought for him before, wearing fluffy dog ears. He stared at me with a mix of desire and tranquility. I thought that's what you wanted. He came over, grabbed my hand, and touched the fluffy ears on his head. I need you to touch me. I need your help. His burning gaze seemed to melt me. Jason, you're too much. It's what you taught me. Joyce, I'm loving you. Jason traded his entire fortune for a chance to marry into my family. My father was speechless. Our family's status soared. On our wedding day, the magnitude of the event was known throughout the city. Normally, I'm at the company. Jason's at the research institute. On other days, I'm at the company. Jason's under my desk. Later, I asked him if there was any lifelong research he couldn't let go of. He turned his head and kissed me. Yes, my lifelong research is called Joyce. The end. Extra. Jason. 1. Jason always felt like he was a monster. He was sick. He couldn't express himself. He was afraid to make demands, but he could pretend to be normal. Like an ordinary person, he went to school, took exams, made friends. Initially, he pretended very well, just like a person. His only hobby was research. He studied various things, various people. Gradually, his condition worsened, and during an episode, he inadvertently hurt others. His schizophrenia was eventually exposed. To cover up the disgrace, Hugh arranged for him to transfer schools. On his first day at the new school, he pretended to be normal as always. At first, he didn't even notice what his deskmate was like, whether male or female, beautiful or ugly. He interacted with her as he did with any new acquaintance, politely, distantly, noncommittally. But it seemed his deskmate couldn't understand his indifference. She chattered incessantly, asking all sorts of questions. It was noisy and annoying. He remembered her name, Joyce. Indeed, far too noisy. During one superficial conversation, he accidentally revealed, back at home, people would enter my room without knocking. It was annoying. Previously, after self-harming, Hugh saw it on the surveillance and called emergency services. Joyce heard about it. Later, she bought an ugly little bear doorbell. Here, install this on your door. From now on, it will ding-dong whenever someone opens the door, out of politeness. He accepted it and thanked her. That was the beginning of an avalanche. All sorts of clutter started accumulating in his hands like it was free. His room could barely contain it all. Gradually, he got to know Joyce. Gradually, it seemed he started to care about her. He looked it up. This feeling was called having a crush, but he was ill, very ill. He was terrified of Joyce finding out, so he kept pretending. He became whatever she liked, and secretly, he kept watching her. Seeing her smile at others made him jealous. Seeing her talk to others made him wish he could eliminate them. Unexpectedly, he had an episode right in front of Joyce. Reviewing the surveillance footage later, he was extremely cautious even in his breathing. Can you tell me what you are studying? Studying Joyce. Studying how to make her not fear his true self. Studying how to make her like him too. Strangely, he who was usually capable of anything, now faced difficulties and obstacles. He couldn't figure it out. Joyce said, you can just tell her. she won't reject you. She was just comforting herself. She would reject him, definitely. So after she lulled him to sleep, she left. That day, he really wanted to die. He heard Susan's voice again, saw Susan again. It was me who brought you into this world, and it should be me who takes you out. Let's die together. Jason, come on. She was hysterical, urging him. He picked up the sharpened triangular ruler hidden under his bed slat. He didn't know how many times he slashed. His phone rang. It was Joyce's special ringtone. I had to go home for a bit. Are you awake? In that moment, her voice seemed to dispel all the darkness. He played it over and over, until the phone rang again. A more vivid voice came through. Do you have time tomorrow? Let's go to the West City and check out the haunted house there. They say it's super thrilling, just the two of us. His initial reaction was joy, then fear. He deliberately delayed his morning to pick up his medication, hoping to prevent another episode that might frighten her. But then, Hugh called him. He was furious, turned off his GPS, and disconnected the cameras, so he didn't have time to take his medicine, and he was in a hurry to meet her. When he got out of the car, he was sweating profusely. He also felt guilty, afraid that she would notice. Fortunately, all was still well. During the haunted house visit, Joyce clung to him. He felt a thrill. But his condition did not allow for excitement. Realizing he was losing control, he pretended to see a ghost and hid from her to swallow his pills. What was she trying to say at that moment? He didn't know. He just thought she smelled so good, her body so soft. No, she mustn't get any closer. Unexpectedly, Joyce confessed her feelings. Under the evening breeze and the fiery sunset, she repeated every word. I like you, Jason. He was so elated he felt like he could explode. He wanted so badly to accept her, but then Hugh called. His beautiful dream was abruptly shattered. He began to feel scared. To evade, he didn't deserve her. He hid himself, and secretly watched Joyce. She kept looking for him. While he was happy, he dared not show himself. He was a monster. He could hurt her. He felt terrible. He missed her, yet Joyce still found him. He couldn't hide in time. Her reasoning was so persuasive. They moved in together. He was so happy, and so scared. Because his issues were slowly revealing themselves, Joyce hit him. After hitting him, she might as well not leave, but he couldn't bring himself to say it. She told him mouths are made for speaking. She taught him, say you can't bear to lose me, you need me, miss me, love me, such regret. I don't. He received a kiss, a careful, gentle one, filled with consolation. Turns out, voicing your needs can indeed be met with fulfillment and reward, not scolding or beating. Joyce taught him another lesson. To love himself, but he loved her more. She said, for me, then, stand on high places. We should meet at the peak, not cling to each other. At that moment, he seemed to understand. She also loved him deeply. Joyce taught him step by step. He learned to love her, in her way, only her. She worked hard to make him normal. He kept getting better. It turns out, his initial plea for help had indeed saved him. The moon in his dreams was not a mere reflection in the water. Story 2. I am the cherished first love of a wealthy family who was brought back to life 4 years after my death. By then, my replacement had already taken my place successfully, wearing my face and taunting me smugly. Everything that was yours is now mine. You're too late. However, she didn't realize that the allure of the beloved first love is so strong that once I appear, everyone abandons their principles to come to me. 1. I'm back, Mom. As I pushed open the grand doors of the Shin family home without any resistance, I greeted my mother, who was sitting on the sofa, with a smile. Just like every time I returned home, it seemed like an ordinary day, but suddenly, there was a loud clang. It was the sound of her teacup smashing on the floor. Her response to my return was a tearful cry. My Yushi is back. I am Shin Yushi, the young mistress of the Shin family, who died from heart failure. In my dying moments, I was bound by a system for quick transmigration, and I realized that I was just the tragically early deceased first love in a story about replacements. The real protagonist is my look-alike replacement. Due to her appearance, she crossed social classes and caught the attention of the wealthy elite, becoming the darling of their world. Eventually, my parents took her as their goddaughter, my childhood friend became her lover, and my younger brother obeyed her every command. She received everyone's love, but all this was predicated on my death. So, when the system asked if I was willing to complete the task and return to life in my original world, I didn't hesitate to agree. Why should my life be a mere stepping stone for someone else? even my tragic death being used as a starting point for someone else's happiness. So, I came back. Mom, it's me, I'm back. My mother's embrace was as warm as ever, but now it felt almost suffocatingly tight. As if she was afraid that I would disappear if she let go, I sighed and gently patted her frail body, comforting her. The system altered memories, changing my death from a futile medical rescue 4 years ago to a disappearance in a maritime accident. She thought she had been searching for me day after day for years, now, regained what was lost. However, this tearful mother-daughter reunion was soon interrupted by a noise at the door. Mom, look what we bought for you." Before she even appeared, a sweet yet unfamiliar female voice rang out. A young girl carrying a box of pastries rushed in first. Soon after, I heard an extremely familiar voice, filled with indulgence. "Slow down, don't run." With just that phrase, I recognized him, Xiajihe, the boy I grew up with. "Mom, do we have guests? Why are you crying?" This was my brother, Shinju, who spoke as he entered, but with my back to him, he couldn't recognize me. He only saw our mother and a young girl embracing and crying, and he hesitated before asking. I felt my mother grip my hand even tighter, her eyes red and lips trembling, wanting to speak but tears kept flowing. "Mom, don't cry, what's going on? Who is this sister?" "Ah, Jiha, why are you pinching me? It hurts." The sweet voice spoke again, this time with a hint of whining complaint. Xiajiha seemed to sense something. His intense gaze fixed on my back, indifferent to the young girl's complaint, his Adam's apple moving as he tried to utter a familiar but long strange name. "Why is everyone acting so weird today?" The security guard at the door even said I had just come back a while ago. "How strange," the girl muttered, glancing at our crying mother. I glanced at my silent brother and Xiajiheng, whose mood was visibly off. Finally, my gaze rested on myself, and a sudden uneasy premonition rose in my heart. As if to confirm this premonition, I emerged from my mother's embrace, turned my head, and looked at them. "Ah Ju, Jiheng, long time no see, Yushi." Xiajiheng's voice trembled almost imperceptibly, while Shinju was much more outspoken. "Shin Yushi, you dare to come back? Where have you been all these years? Did you know I really thought you were dead? How could you?" The 18-year-old boy was far from composed. He spoke through clenched teeth, his eyes frighteningly red, tears falling like tiny pearls uncontrollably. Feeling guilty, I patted his shoulder. "Ah Ju has grown up. Back then, he was just a 14-year-old kid, and now he's all grown up." Seemingly unable to hold back any longer, he rested his head on my shoulder, sobbing softly. "Sister, I missed you so much." This was a reunion filled with both sadness and joy. It was only when a food container dropped to the ground that everyone noticed the girl who had been standing at the door, silent until now. I looked at her. Her face, so similar to mine, had lost all color and looked terribly disheveled. We sat down together for a dinner where everyone had different thoughts, surrounded by dishes I loved. My mother kept serving me food zealously, while Shinju peeled shrimp for me conscientiously. When Xiajiheng subconsciously placed my favorite plum pork ribs into Yun Tian's bowl, everyone paused momentarily. "Thank you." Yun Tian tightened her palm, her tone calm as she thanked him. Her first words since learning of my identity. Xiajiheng paused, then responded faintly. I didn't let the undercurrents at the dinner table bother me and continued eating calmly. "Your room has remained unchanged. I've been cleaning it every day myself. Now that you're back, go rest well. The doctor will come to check on you later, and your father will be back tomorrow." My mother's incessant chatter was her way of showing care, and I responded to each point. They didn't say much about Yun Tian, but I wasn't flustered. This was the confidence of being loved. What I hadn't expected was that if I didn't go to the mountains would come to me. Late at night, my room door was knocked. Opening the door, it was Yun Tian's familiar face, standing there with a glass of milk. I raised an eyebrow at her, somewhat surprised, thinking it was an attempt to ease the awkwardness, but unexpectedly, her expression changed from the silence at the dinner table to one of scorn. "You should have stayed dead. Why come back? Do you think you can beat me? I've been winning them over for 4 years, except for this room. Everything you once had is now mine. You've come back too late." Understand, strategy, was a familiar term. Her words had just ended when, without waiting for my reaction, she poured the milk over her own face and then, with a scream, fell to the ground as the glass shattered with a crisp sound. Tears streamed down her face. "Sister, I'm sorry, I just wanted to please you." There was no malice. It had been a long time since I had experienced such a low-level trap, and in that moment, I even found it somewhat amusing, coldly observing the pitiful girl on the ground, her clothes thin, the milk soaking her hair, her eyes red and fearful, overall evoking pity. In truth, I wasn't keen on competing with Yuntian, whatever her reasons. She had been the one providing some comfort to my loved ones over the years. I bore her no great malice, only wishing she would understand the situation and back down on her own, but her hostility towards me was clearly not insignificant. The commotion of the night always draws attention, especially on such a day. None of the people in the house had any intention of sleeping, so when Yuntian screamed, a few other doors opened one after another. What happened? Is it Yushi? Did something happen to Yushi? Mother Shin, pale-faced and hastily dressed, had even put on her shoes incorrectly. It was only when she came out and saw me standing there unharmed that she breathed a sigh of relief. Over the years, her sleep had been poor, frequently disturbed by dreams filled with unsettling images. Mom, after confirming I was safe, Yuntian's plaintive call finally reached her ears. What happened? Why did you fall? Mother Shin frowned as she looked at the shards of the cup next to Yuntian. Before Yuntian could reply, she spoke again. How could you be so careless? What if the broken glass had hurt someone? Get up now. It was sister. Yuntian pursed her lips, on the verge of tears, but her performance was once again interrupted. What happened to your hand? Shinju very clearly grasped my hand, noticing a small, bleeding wound on the pale back of my hand, likely caused by a splinter of glass. It wasn't painful, and I didn't feel much else, but Shinju's brows were furrowed as if facing a major crisis. Can't you take better care of yourself? Didn't you know you were hurt? He chided me, instinctively blowing on the wound like he used to when we were children, before quickly realizing, I'll get the first aid kit. Saying this, he was about to run off. Mother Shin also hurried over, distressed. Ju, go quickly, she's bleeding. Yushi, does it hurt a lot? It's my fault. I didn't notice you were hurt. She held my injured hand, filled with guilt. Yuntian, once again ignored by everyone, couldn't help but twist her face in a moment of frustration. Ever since her face had helped her marry into a wealthy family, she hadn't tasted defeat, the doting of her parents, the care from her lover, and the attention from her younger brother were all within easy reach. She thought she was the happiest person in the world, but why did the deceased have to come back to life? Mom, it's okay, it's not painful. I noticed Yuntian's resentment and jealousy, knowing she wouldn't let this go easily. Some things, when possessed for too long, are subconsciously assumed to be one's own. Mom, I'm in pain, I'm hurt too. Yuntian, seizing the moment when Mother Shin was distracted, grabbed a piece of glass, her palm bleeding profusely. She spread out her cut palm pitifully, tears welling up in her eyes, longing for her mother's attention and affection. The first aid kit, I've got it. Shinju appeared just in time, pausing briefly as he saw Yuntian's bloodied hand. Ju, it hurts. She knew exactly which tactics worked best with Shinju. Every time she showed weakness and dependency like this, he would reluctantly but carefully take care of her, always catering to her desires. Though it was just a brief pause, she saw it as a sign of hope and called out again. Ju. Shinju pursed his lips, the first aid kit in his hands now taken by Mother Shin, who hurriedly pulled me into the room to treat my wound. Ju, help her up. Of course, I was aware of the neglect from my mother and brother, focused more on me, partly because they feared I would feel uncomfortable because of Yuntian. After all, having such a similar face, I wasn't naive and understood well the role she had played during my absence. My speaking out was unexpected even to my mother. She paused, looked back, and since Shinju always listened to me, he carefully navigated around the debris to help Yuntian up from the ground. Ah Ju, do you and Mom dislike me now? Yuntian stood up, leaning on his strength, her eyes red with grievance. All her pretense couldn't stand up against a single sentence from me. Shinju did not answer her. I just wanted to bring a cup of milk to my sister. I really didn't mean any harm. I don't know why she pushed me. Mom ignores me. My sister hates me. Ah Ju, are you trying to drive me away? Ah Ju, if I apologize to my sister, will she forgive me? I don't want to leave you all. My sister, Yuntian, Shinju called her name indifferently, stopping her mid-sentence. She snapped out of her emotions and looked up at Shinju. His calm gaze met hers. As if he were looking at a stranger, he said, Shinyushi is my sister. With that one statement, Yuntian understood his implication. Shinyushi was his sister, not hers, so her constant reference to Yushi as sister was incorrect. Shinyushi was his sister, and thus his trust in her was unconditional. He wouldn't believe a word against her. Tears fell one by one from Yuntian's eyes as she spoke stubbornly. What about me, Ju? What do these 3 years we spent together mean? You used to call me sister too. Her voice trailed off, choked with emotion. I never did. I never called you sister, Shinju denied. He had never called Yuntian sister, except maybe the first time they met when he thought she was someone else. Yuntian choked up, recalling that instance, realizing Shinju was mostly silent. She thought he was just not very talkative. She hadn't expected that he had always clearly distinguished between his real sister and her. Not even sparing the term sister, but she couldn't believe it. After 3 years of living together, she couldn't accept that Shinju had no feelings for her at all. Are we not family? She murmured to herself. This time, Shinju did not respond. He just gave Yuntian a deep look and turned to go inside. Yuntian's expression changed several times before she fell silent and followed Shinju inside. This was her first time entering this room, previously as taboo as any other. After becoming the adopted daughter of the Shin family, the room was styled completely differently from hers, yet every detail was exquisite. She had always thought that one day she would live here as the mistress, but in the end, it was its true master who opened it. My wound had been treated, and I hadn't missed the commotion at the door. Miss Yun's wound should be treated too. Ju, help her out, the medicine box is here. I spoke up, my voice gentle and kind. The way Shinju remembered best. Okay, sure. Shinju did not refuse and complied obediently, but Yuntian felt humiliated. She thought I was showing off, her eyes occasionally sweeping over me with a dark look, yet, as if unaware, I continued talking to Shin's mother. The doctor said you are severely depleted, you need to take good care of yourself, and let me know immediately if you feel unwell. Yes, I'll listen to mom, don't worry too much about me, I'm not a child anymore. No matter how old you get, in mom's eyes, you'll always be a child, the treasure I hold dear in my heart. Shin's mother was a loving mother, but she rarely expressed her love so openly. I felt a twinge in my nose, thinking of all the tasks I had completed in strange little worlds, never daring to stop for the sake of revival. I'd been through a lot, and the belief that sustained me was always the idea of returning home. I thought I was strong enough. But a few simple words from my mother could still easily soften my heart. A sharp pain caused Shinju to pause momentarily as Yuntian severely hurt herself, the wound in her palm deep and embedded with shards of glass, requiring careful removal. Endure it a bit, Shinju said softly, his eyes and eyebrows lowered as he patiently completed the task his sister had assigned. Yuntian, her voice nasal, hummed in response. She remained silent thereafter, gripping the crumpled hem of her skirt tightly whenever the pain intensified. Soon, Shinju had her wound neatly bandaged. I rubbed my temples wearily, and Mother Shin, noticing my gesture, spoke up. It's late, everyone should go to sleep, whatever matters there are can wait until tomorrow. She glanced deliberately at Yuntian, seemingly warning her to stay in line. Yuntian's words stuck in her throat as Shinju packed up and stood, nodding at me before he left, saying, Sister, good night. I smiled and responded warmly, Ju, see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow seemed more hopeful than just good night, and Shinju's steps lightened a bit. Mother Shin had left with Yuntian, and I knew they probably had more to discuss. Sure enough, just as I closed my eyes, I heard voices. My experiences as a task performer had left me with some unusual abilities and talents. Tian, is your hand okay? It was Mother's gentle voice, followed soon by a weeping female voice. Mom, I thought you didn't want me anymore. It hurts so much, my hand and my heart both hurt. Why didn't you pay attention to me just now? I'm your daughter too, Yuntian cried, asserting her place as a daughter, albeit not by birth. She just got back, she's understandably sensitive. I thought to look after her a bit more. Can you understand, Mom, you're all my children, and I love you all the same. Besides, you've been by my side for so many years, how could I not want you? Silly child, don't overthink it. Tomorrow I'll have a doctor come over to properly bandage your hand again. We can't have any scars. Mother Shin switched from her cold demeanor in front of me to a completely different, caring tone. I listened, my brow furrowing, not understanding her intentions, until Yuntian spoke up again. I knew Mom loved me too. Sister is just too sensitive. I didn't mean to compete with her. I genuinely wanted to be part of this family. She's really hostile towards me. She even purposely. Yes, Tian, you're a good child. I'll speak to Yushi about this. You'll just have to bear with it for a bit. I'll need to check the surveillance footage tomorrow to see who's been negligent. Yushi mentioned you tripped over something outside her room door, which is quite dangerous, causing both of you to get injured. Mother Shin interrupted Yun Tian, speaking mostly to herself, her tone slightly annoyed as if she was truly displeased with the careless work of the servants. Yun Tian choked up, surveillance, so there were cameras at the room door. No wonder Shinju didn't believe her earlier. It's not that, I was just careless and tripped over myself. Mom, you don't need to bother, I'll be more careful next time. I'm sorry for also causing sister to get hurt. Yun Tian quickly changed her statement, swallowing back any accusations she was about to make. She can't shoot herself in the foot. Oh, is that so? Shin's mother seemed somewhat surprised. Yes, it's my fault for still being so impetuous at my age. I'll apologize to my sister tomorrow, Yun Tian said surprisingly easily. It might be because she was overly confident about their relationship over the years. To her, it was just a minor hiccup that didn't matter much. 11. Host, are you feeling sad? The quiet outside had returned, but I was still pondering the conversation between my mother and Yun Tian. Although my mother seemed to have little affection for Yun Tian, she was very comforting behind the scenes. Every word seemed meaningful, appearing to show concern, but in reality, they were all meant to favor me. And Yun Tian, why did she so easily believe what my mother said? I was reminded of the term strategy she used. Does she also have a system like me? Before I could figure it out, the system, which had been unbound, suddenly spoke in my mind, asking if I was feeling sad. I paused, somewhat astonished. Why have you come back? I still want to see if the life you chose is worse than listening to me, not returning to the original world, and choosing immortality. No, this is where I belong. I shook my head, denying the system's words. But your mother has acknowledged another daughter. You're not the only one anymore. Like all the past world's beloveds, you will eventually be replaced by a substitute. No, maybe you have already been replaced. Isn't it good to live in memories where one is always cherished? The system didn't quite understand human emotions. It could only analyze from actual situations. That won't happen. I trust my mother. A mother's love for her child cannot be faked, and I firmly believe she loves me deeply. My conversation with the system ended with its silence, and I knew it hadn't left for good. The night grew more silent, and I closed my eyes in fatigue. It was my soul that was more exhausted than my body. Though each death wasn't the end, the recurring agony was something I had genuinely experienced. 12. Brother Jiheng, are you here to take me out? When I saw Xie Jiheng's figure, Yun Tian had already eagerly thrown herself into his arms. With Shen's mother's comforting words from last night, she felt she hadn't lost. It was just the initial impact of the returned beloved that was strong. Over time, she believed she would stick around. So, facing Xie Jiheng, she was equally confident. I watched the two embracing not far away and stopped in my tracks. My hand is injured. Can you pamper me today? Yun Tian showed her newly bandaged palm to Xie Jiheng, seeking sympathy. Usually, he would have been very sympathetic. But this time Xie Jiheng paused, and after realizing, he pushed the person in his arms away. Sorry Tian, I'm not here for you today. Yushi, do you have time for a chat? He looked up at me. I raised an eyebrow, glanced at Yun Tian who was full of hostility towards me, and smiled in agreement. Sure. For the first time, Xie Jiheng resisted Yun Tian's coquettish behavior, giving us a chance to be alone. In the cafe, we looked at each other in silence, so quiet that I thought he just wanted to have a coffee with me. I thought after such a long time, we would have a lot to talk about. Xie Jiheng sighed deeply. I stopped stirring my coffee and looked up at him. What do you want to say? You're still the same as before, cutting straight to the point. He didn't leave any room for subtlety. He laughed, seemingly confident in his understanding of me. First, I owe you an apology regarding Yun Tian. I was wrong, he said, admitting his mistake of treating her as a stand-in for me. I will explain things to her clearly. Yushi, do we still have a chance? His gaze was intense as he looked at me, reminiscent of the unresolved tension between us 4 years ago. It's not possible anymore, I replied decisively, leaving Xie Jiheng stunned. He froze, unable to comprehend why I would respond this way. Why? He asked almost reflexively. Simply because I don't like you anymore, I answered without any burden. After so many years in this foreign world, I've seen enough of such dramas and even found them somewhat dull now. This meeting ended unpleasantly, but I quickly put it behind me. However, someone took it very seriously. Enjoying your chat with someone else's boyfriend, sister, Yuntian's voice suddenly emerged from behind me in the flower room. I paused in trimming the branches and turned to look at her. Don't you find it tiring, maintaining this facade? Before others, she played the weak and vulnerable, but with me, her tone was full of provocation. Tired? Why would I be tired? Playing your role allows me to live a life like yours, which is far too easy, but I just can't understand. Why are you still alive? She shed her frail disguise and became aggressively confrontational. How I live is none of your business. What's not yours will never be yours. Lives built on pretense never last. Isn't it better to be yourself? If you want, I can give you some money. I don't really care for the identity of the adopted daughter of the Shin family. I was willing to be merciful before things got out of hand, but I'm no saint ready to step aside and let her trample over me and claim a legitimate place in the Shin family. Your high and mighty attitude is truly annoying. At the end of the day, you're just being hypocritical. You must really hate me deep down. Shin Yushi, are you jealous of me, or are you scared? Yuntian couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh, as if she had seen a weakness of mine that no one else knew. Shin Yushi, you're not as competent as you think you are. You're scared that even after your return, they will still choose me. After all, during the years you were gone, it was I who was by their side day and night. Haha. Yuntian grew more convinced of her own words, her demeanor smug. I hate smart fools. Since that's the case, there's nothing left to discuss, I said, facing a face that bore a resemblance to mine but showed an expression I could never have. I closed my eyes, unable to bear it any longer. Of course, I will fight you to the end, Shin Yushi. I won't lose, just wait and see. Her fighting spirit was palpable as she dropped these words, her departing figure exuding arrogance, almost as if cued by her declaration of war. My luck started to turn. Little mishaps happened now and then, which I initially ignored, until a car accident almost broke my legs. Thankfully Shinju appeared just in time to save me. A narrowly avoided accident left my mother in tears and trembling with fear. I began to stay alert, and indeed, during the birthday banquet that day, another accident occurred. This was the first birthday I celebrated in 4 years since coming home, attended by friends from my old social circle. They clinked glasses and reminisced with me. Compared to me, Yuntian's situation was much quieter. After all, an adopted daughter couldn't compare with one's own flesh and blood, let alone a stand-in, whether in terms of emotional ties or perceived value. These scions of wealthy families preferred to socialize with me. Sister, this drink is for you, Yuntian said politely in front of others, almost too sweetly. I didn't take her glass but chose another from the waiter's tray. Then I'll have the same as sister, she said, casting a subtle glance my way. I was willing to maintain the facade of cordiality with her and slightly nodded in agreement. She took the initiative to toast me, and in this battle between the true principal and the substitute, it seemed unsurprising that I had the upper hand, but I knew Yuntian wasn't someone who would give up easily. Almost as soon as she made a move, I signaled with my eyes for someone to follow her. Soon after, a piercing scream erupted. Yuntian emerged from Shinju's room, her dress torn and her face flushed. Stumbling as she ran, my heart tightened until a waiter passing by slipped something into my hand, calming me down. Why did you drug my drink? Yuntian accused, blushing with shame before fainting. Immediately, someone dialed for a doctor. The guests present, spurred by her outcry, cast strange glances my way. Some more perceptive ones even thought to take their leave. Not wanting to offend anyone lightly, however, I spoke up at this moment. Ladies and gentlemen, no need to rush off. I too am curious about the drugging Miss Yun mentions. Right and wrong cannot be established by mere words. This slander, I, Shin Yushi, will not accept. Following my words, the room fell silent. Yuntian was quickly covered with a coat, and the doctor who arrived soon after began treating her. Minutes later, she regained consciousness. Upon opening her eyes and seeing me, her eyes reddened, her lips quivered, and her body shrank. Jiheng has broken up with me. Do you still refuse to let me go? I know you hate me, thinking I'm unworthy to be your stand-in, but I've always regarded you as my sister, and Ju, he protects you so much. Are you afraid he'll monopolize the Shin family, so you want to frame him too? Even though I'm adopted, incest between siblings would be a huge scandal. Her words were filled with schemes and provocation, not just trying to alienate my family from me but also to tarnish my reputation. Is Shin Yushi really such a person? It doesn't seem like it. Who knows? After all, with the years she's been missing, there's been a blank slate. Maybe she picked up some bad habits outside. People change. I actually think this Miss Yun is quite pitiable. Indeed, when it came to the interests of family inheritance, some began to waver, and murmurs arose, Yushi, Yuntian is innocent. The matter of the stand-in has nothing to do with her. If you have an issue, come at me. Whether it was a sympathy for the underdog or Xia Zhiheng's chivalrous spirit, he frowned and stood disapprovingly in front of me. Are you sick? Have you had enough acting? I looked up impatiently, failing to understand the meaning of such men in every little world I encountered. Mom, I'm scared. Yuntian turned towards my mother standing behind me, suddenly as if seeing a savior. I turned around and was about to speak when my mother interrupted me for the first time. Enough, stop this now. I was stunned because I knew that this was directed at me. My mother, whom I trusted unconditionally, was for the first time opposing me. Was she really siding with the stand-in? Yet, why was her hand trembling slightly? I told you, you can't beat the female lead. Host, I'm willing to give you another chance. Rebind with me. The system's voice, full of temptation, rang out again. Still not giving up on persuading me after being silent for so long. Shut up, I scolded in my mind. Already annoyed. What did you say I did again? I asked, looking at Yuntian with a stern gaze. She seemed proud, basking in the scolding I received from her mother on her behalf. Of course, it was about drugging. You didn't want to drink my cup of wine, so guiding me to drink marks on his chest. This was Shinju's notorious playboy friend. While everyone's attention was diverted, I took the opportunity to grab Shinju's phone and inserted a memory card given to me by a waiter. The video on it showed Yuntian's self-directed actions. Is this the drugging you mentioned? I pulled up the video of Yuntian toasting to me, then secretly adding powder to her drink. She also specially had a servant bring water laced with drugs to Shinju under the guise of caring for him. Then entered his room when the time was right, but she didn't expect that the person sleeping in the room wasn't Shinju, and the playboy, following his principle of taking advantage of situations, had allowed her approach. How can it not be this way? This video is fake, Yuntian exclaimed in disbelief, frantically calling out to her system in her mind. Why aren't you helping me block this? What are you doing? Do you even know who your real master is? I was taken aback, catching the desperation in Yuntian's eyes. How could I hear her inner voice? Her system remained unresponsive, but I sensed a familiar energy fluctuation. As the mocking gazes almost drowned her, Yuntian called out desperately, Mom, as if commanded. Shin's mother suddenly spoke up. Enough, Yushi. Tian was just joking with you. Don't take it to heart. I couldn't believe such disjointed words came from my most trusted mother. Anger tinted Shinju's face, but I held back the impulsive young man from lashing out. The expressions of the guests varied, but Yuntian was visibly pleased. Right, sister, it was just a joke, a naive prank. You won't hold it against me, right? I just wanted to foster a closer sisterly bond. I won't dare do it again. She cheekily stuck out her tongue, her flimsy excuse convincing no one. But it was the protective stance of Shin's mother. Of course, I wouldn't mind if we were at a circus. I suppose I'd be more supportive there. I dropped the comment and quickly led the increasingly agitated Shinju out of the scene. I really can't understand her. Why does she still defend that person? They used to say Yuntian was your substitute. I thought she couldn't bear the pain of losing you and found someone else to focus on. She wants a happy family, and I played along with her. But now that you're back, what is she really doing? Is she sacrificing her own daughter for her adopted one? Shinju punched the wall, a teenager who couldn't fully grasp the complex emotions. He just felt that his mother's actions were unfair to his sister. Don't be angry. I'm not upset. Her tricks can't hurt me. I pulled his hand away, feeling somewhat helpless as his knuckles were reddened. When he was younger, he would need me to soothe even the smallest scrape. And now he resorts to punching walls. But Mom, enough. I'll handle this. Why don't you tell me what happened during the years I was away? I felt like the plot had changed from what I had known before. Shinju pursed his lips and nodded. Mom, did you have a nightmare again? In the middle of the night, when Shin's mother came to check on me, I opened my eyes and called out to her. This wasn't the first time she had come to check on me secretly at night, but it was the first time I didn't pretend to be asleep. I only learned today from Shinju that she used to have nightmares and had trouble sleeping until Yuntian came, and then things slowly got better. Seemingly not expecting me to be awake, Shin's mother paused, opened her mouth as if to say something, worry evident in her eyes. Finally, she awkwardly said, I'm sorry. Those 3 words made me cast aside all my doubts, my heart aching uncontrollably. Mom, you have nothing to apologize for. I know you have your reasons for what you've done, right? Yushi, death is painful, If I could, I would really want my child to never have to experience these things, but I'm a useless mother, only able to watch her die over and over again in different ways, powerless to stop it. Her tears fell on my face as she tenderly stroked my hair. My expression remained calm, but inside, a storm was brewing. Did she mean that she could see every one of my deaths? What an impact that must have had on her. I felt somewhat suffocated by the thought. But how could an ordinary person see these things? My greatest wish is for you to have a safe and smooth life. Leave everything else to me. That was the last thing my mother said to me that night. A late-night talk left me unsettled for a long time. Yuntian, relying on mother's favoritism, had already stopped making superficial efforts with me. Of course, I wasn't easy to provoke, and she gained no advantages from me. The most recent conflict was about a set of jewelry that Shin's mother had given me. Sister, how does it look? Yuntian, wearing the necklace I had only worn once, asked me with a smug look in her eyes. Didn't anyone ever tell you that taking without asking is stealing? Put it down, and get out of this room. She dropped her act, and I naturally didn't greet her with a smile. I won't put it down, I want this set. If you're unhappy, go complain to Mom. Saying this, Yuntian was about to leave with the jewelry. I grabbed her arm. I said, put it down. She rolled her eyes, trying to shake me off, but I grabbed her hair and smashed her head against the dressing table mirror. Don't you understand? Yuntian was shocked. She never expected that I, usually so gentle, would resort to violence so suddenly. You dared to hit me. I won't let you get away with this. Yuntian screamed in anger. With a slight click of my tongue and an expressionless face, I continued to pull her hair and smash her head against the dressing table amidst her screams. I'm going to kill you, Shinyushi. The system. She has violated the rules. You should kill this wretch quickly. Last time you said that the affection overdraft blocking function was ineffective. There should be no excuse this time. Suddenly, my arm felt numb, and all my suspicions were confirmed at that moment. The system had indeed betrayed me. Or rather, Yuntian and I had been using the same system all along. Only harming another user bound to the same system is considered a violation of the rules, and would be punishable. Shinyushi has unbound from the system and is no longer a mission participant. The system has no authority to erase her. It was the system's familiar voice, but it came from Yuntian. The drama eventually attracted the attention of the servants, who called Shin's mother, in the living room. Yuntian played the victim and cried, while I sat opposite her with a cold face, eyes closed, unwilling to watch. Since you two can't get along, Yushi, you should go abroad. For many years, it has been Tian by my side, and I'm used to it. Suddenly, Shin's mother spoke up, and the room fell silent. I opened my eyes and saw Yuntian barely able to contain her glee, although Shin's mother let her lean on her. The look in her eyes was cold, but Yuntian, too thrilled, failed to notice. Her words sounded like a victory trumpet, and people often overlook crucial details when they are too proud. All right. I looked at Shin's mother, remained silent for a long time, and finally spoke that single word, loser. Yuntian mouthed provocatively as she leaned against Shin's mother. The decision for me to go abroad was thus settled, and Yuntian couldn't wait to declare her victory to the world. There was much gossip in our circles, and Shinju was so angry he didn't come home, but he couldn't change anyone's decision. System, I've thought it over. I'm willing to rebind with you. I want to make them regret. Maybe you are right. The moonlight is only worth remembering when it exists in memory alone. I looked down and gave a bitter smile, met with silence. No reply from the system. Have you abandoned me too? Maybe I shouldn't have come back to life. I muttered forlornly, time ticking away. Suddenly, the familiar voice spoke again. Host Shinyushi, do you wish to rebind with System 933? Please confirm yes or no. My eyes flickered, but I pretended to be overjoyed. That's great. You're still here. Yes, host. I have always been here. You were right. Human emotions are too fickle. I lost to my own substitute. What about you? Will you betray me? I probed quietly, and after a few seconds of silence, the system continued. The system cannot betray the host, or it will be destroyed. I suddenly remembered the day I bound 4 years ago. The system had told me where its destruction key was to gain my trust, but I had been obsessed with coming back to life and trusted it completely. Host Shinyushi, do you choose to rebind? The question was asked again, and I chose yes. The binding process began to initiate. I suddenly asked, is Yuntian also your mission participant? Yes. It was somewhat surprised that I had noticed, But now that I agreed to rebind and there was no conflict of interest with Yun Tian, it had no reason to hide anything. Moreover, system rules stipulate that the system cannot lie to its host. It turned out that it was Yun Tian's main system's clone, specifically slit to deceive the universal consciousness and steal my destiny, replacing my life with Yun Tian's. I was supposed to die in the mission world, never expecting to complete the mission and return alive. The system had no authority to erase such subjects. It could only fulfill the promise to revive me. Yet, upon my return to the original world, just after meeting Yun Tian, that destiny rushed back to me as if coming home. Yun Tian thought it wouldn't be a big issue. With the system's support and years of accrued goodwill, it seemed manageable. I couldn't win against her even after coming back. The allure of the white moonlight was too overwhelming. Just a few encounters and her plans nearly succeeded. To eliminate me as an obstacle, the system was compelled to deceive me into a binding that would force me to leave. Thus, the early death was a lie, and so was the plot about being replaced. All these were crafted to cater to Yun Tian's desire over my life and the system's need for destiny manipulation. From the moment she entered this world, she had her sights set on me. 23. Has my mother's change in attitude got anything to do with you? Did you intentionally let her see my death in that mini-world, or did you manipulate her to side with Yun Tian? The system remained silent, merely speeding up the binding process. A clear enough answer. Binding progress 80, 99, 100. Host, we can leave now. Since you've decided to abandon the past, let's leave it behind. From now on, I will be a system for you alone. It turned out to be Yun Tian. Once she knew I was willing to rebind, she unbound her system and stayed behind forever. Her mission as the adopted daughter of the Shin family had long been completed. She had been dragging it out with points, reluctant to leave or unbind. Now, she had made her choice. I was just feeling sleepy when someone brought me a pillow. Thank you for clearing things up. 9:33. I will never trust a traitor again. I quickly located and pressed the delete button in my mind. The next second, the system space in my mind flickered red. Codes flew chaotically. Everything teetering on the edge of collapse. System 933 tasted betrayal for the first time. You will regret this. I won't. 24. Sister, I've stopped Mom. The phone rang, and the call connected, carrying Shinju's voice. Still frightened, relieved by the news, I grabbed my keys and ran out. You handled it well. Don't panic. I'm on my way. By the time I arrived at the abandoned warehouse, Yun Tian was gagged and lying in the dirty mud, and my mother, shaking with hatred, hesitated because of Shinju. Mom, this is illegal. It's no use glaring at me. If she doesn't die, your sister will. My mother hissed through clenched teeth. Shinju froze, bewildered. Move aside. Mother pushed him, attempting to continue her assault on Yun Tian, but I caught her in time. Mom, how did you get here? Leave. This has nothing to do with you. She. Listen to Mom and live well. Mother was shocked to see me, pushing me to leave. Mom, it's okay now. Everything's over. Just listen to me. I then revealed the secrets of my disappearance over the past 4 years, the process of being bound by the system, the recent discussions, and the destruction of the system. I knew it. There are no such coincidences in this world. Mom failed to protect you. Mother cried uncontrollably, embracing me tightly, with Shinju also tearing up. 25. Yun Tian was brought back by Xiajihe 3 years ago. Initially, Mother detested this girl who resembled me. Disgusted by Xiajihe's act of finding a substitute, her daughter was irreplaceable. Even if there were millions of lookalikes in the world, after my disappearance, she began to suffer from insomnia and nervous breakdowns. However, after meeting Yun Tian, she suddenly started to dream of various scenarios of my death. Hearing a voice telling her that treating Yun Tian well and loving her as her own daughter was the only chance for her child to return. Initially, she didn't believe it. As the images in her mind became more frequent and vivid, she tentatively began to reach out to Yun Tian, hoping for relief. Indeed, things improved. It was like seeing a beacon of hope. She showered Yun Tian with affection, which everyone assumed was her way of compensating for something missing. Yet, during the sleepless nights, she secretly prayed for her own child to return. Not long after she officially adopted Yun Tian, I truly came back, at just one glance. She recognized the differences between Yun Tian and me, and she was overwhelmed with emotion. She thought this would mark a perfect ending, but then that voice started haunting her again, warning that neglecting Yun Tian would bring me misfortune. Initially, she couldn't control herself and tried to make amends quietly, but to no avail. It was only after a car accident shattered her hope that she realized she must protect Yuntian openly. She did as advised, and the situation improved. However, Mrs. Shin felt a chill run through her body. She firmly believed that the instigator would ultimately benefit from all this. Determined not to let me be constrained for life, she sent me abroad to lower my guard around Yuntian and take matters into her own hands. To eliminate the threat, the voice was likely a result of hypnotic suggestion. After Mrs. Shin went missing, her mental state deteriorated, perhaps exploited during a moment of weakness. 26 Yuntian woke up, looked around in panic, and then frantically sought our help. I turned towards the commotion, but Shinju screamed, "Where did Yuntian go? Who is this?" The girl on the ground had an ordinary, unfamiliar face, one we had never seen before. "That's Yuntian." "What?" Shinju was confused, but Mrs. Shin was not as surprised, now unbound. She no longer had to pretend and merely glanced briefly before looking away. Shinju tore off the tape from her mouth. "Mom, save me. It was Shinyushi who wanted to kidnap me. Save me." Seeing me, she tried to throw accusations my way, but Shinju quickly retaped her mouth, met with a fierce glare from Yuntian. "Can't you speak properly? We are here to rescue you. Don't be ungrateful. If you can't speak nicely, we might just leave you here alone in this abandoned warehouse. Who knows if those violent criminals might return?" Shinju subtly threatened. Naturally, the kidnapping was orchestrated with hired goons, and Yuntian hadn't seen their faces. The Shin family maneuvered behind the scenes. She could find no evidence. Yuntian softened her demeanor, looking pleadingly at us, so Shinju tore off her tape again. Nevertheless, the kidnapping case was left unresolved, with no news leaking from the Shin family. 27 I am Miss Shin. Let me in. When Yuntian returned from the hospital, nobody recognized her anymore. Her face bore no resemblance to her former self, and no one believed her claim of being Yuntian. "Stop pretending. Everyone knows Miss Shin. Do you think we are blind?" The gates of the villa remained closed, and Yuntian was driven away by security. "I am Yuntian," she fumed, but no one paid her any attention. Until she saw Xie Zhiheng visiting, she approached him. "Zhiheng, they won't let me go home. It must be Shinyushi's doing." "You are." Xie Zhiheng paused, faced with a stranger. "I am Yuntian. Don't you recognize me either?" Yuntian became agitated, then touched her face and screamed, My face. What's happened to my face?" Finally, she saw her reflection in the glass. A face she had long forgotten was her own. Yuntian was devastated, unable to accept it, and stumbled away desperately. Xie Zhiheng thought he had encountered a madwoman and paid her no mind. He was there to apologize. He didn't understand what had happened. He had exhausted their childhood friendship with his words, but he still owed an apology. I didn't accept his apology. He seemed distraught as he left. When I heard from him again, it was somehow related to Yuntian. 28 Yuntian couldn't accept her original appearance, and the system never returned. She didn't lack the desire for revenge, but each attempt ended with her getting caught red-handed. Out of options, she turned her attention to Xie Zhiheng, hoping to start over. But without her previous face, Xie Zhiheng didn't recognize her. In a scuffle,